Quad ball is a sport that integrates aspects from rugby, basketball, and dodgeball to create a fast-paced, mixed-gender game that features 7 players per side. Okay, so quad ball is played on a grass or turf field with 3 hoops of varying heights on each team's half. There's 4 balls in quad ball, 1 quaffle, and 3 bludgers, and the players run with brooms between their opponents' hoops. There are 3 chasers per team, and they wear a white headband, and there's 1 keeper per team, and they wear a green headband. The keeper is only different and they can't be interfered with in their team's keeper zone, which is an area around the hoops when they possess the quaffle. On offense, all 4 players move the quaffle by running and passing and shooting to attempt to score. A good goal can be scored from either side of the hoop, and it's worth 10 points. On defense, players can tackle each other, and we're talking full contact to prevent the other team from scoring. Beaters, distinguished by black headbands, use the bludgers, dodgeballs, in attempts to knock out the opposing team's players. Players on offense to clear paths to score, as well as work to stop opposing teams from scoring. Okay, so seekers, the ones with the yellow headband, pursue the snitch runner in an attempt to grab that snitch tail from their shorts, kind of like flag football, in order to earn 35 points for their team. They don't enter the game until after the 20-minute timeout, and they leave the game immediately after a good catch has been recorded. The snitch runner is an impartial official whose sole purpose is to prevent the seekers from catching their snitch tail. They can grab, push, wrap, or run away from the seekers to stop them from catching the snitch. The snitch runner comes onto the field after the 20-minute timeout and stays until they are caught. Quad ball is played in 2 halves. The first consists of a timed 20 minutes, and the second ends only when the set score gets reached. During the first half, the quaffle players and the beaters work together to score goals and stop the other team from scoring goals. When the game clock hits 20 minutes, there's a 2-minute timeout, and that's when the seekers and the snitch runner get introduced. At the same time, they're going to determine the set score. It's determined by taking the total of the leading team's score and adding 60 points. The set score gets indicated on a scoreboard, which will be separate from the game score, and whichever team reaches the set score first, either through only quaffle points Quad ball is a sport that integrates aspects from rugby, basketball, and dodgeball to create a fast-paced, mixed-gender game that features 7 players per side. Okay, so quad ball is played on a grass or turf field with 3 hoops of varying heights on each team's half. There's 4 balls in quad ball, one between their legs, and must complete all the play while on broom. If a player comes off broom at any point, they have to tag the center hoop on their team's half before resuming play. Alright, so there's a lot of different positions. The first 2 are chasers and keepers, known together as quaffle players. They use the quaffle, a slightly deflated volleyball, to try to score through their opponent's hoops. There are 3 chasers per team, and they wear a white headband, and there's 1 keeper per team, and they wear a green headband. The keeper is only different in they can't be interfered with in their team's keeper zone, which is an area around the hoops when they possess the quaffle. On offense, all 4 players move the quaffle by running and passing and shooting to attempt to score. A good goal can be scored from either side of the hoop, and it's worth 10 points. On defense, players can tackle each other, and we're talking full contact to prevent the other team from scoring. Beaters, distinguished by black dodgeballs, in attempts to knock out the opposing team's players. Each team has 2 beaters at any given time. A player of any position that is hit by a bludger thrown by the opposing team's beaters must dismount their broom, drop the ball they possess, and tag in on the center hoop before they can rejoin play. Beaters help their quaffle players on offense to clear paths to score, as well as work to stop opposing teams from scoring. Okay, so seekers, the ones with the yellow headband, pursue the snitch runner in an attempt to grab that snitch tail from their shorts, kind of like flag football, in order to earn 35 points for their team. They don't enter the game until after the 20-minute timeout, and they leave the game immediately after a good catch has been recorded. The snitch runner is an impartial official whose sole purpose is to prevent the seekers from catching their snitch tail. They can grab, push, wrap, or run away from the seekers to stop them from catching the snitch. The snitch runner comes onto the field after the 20-minute timeout and stays until they are caught. Quad ball is played in 2 halves. The first consists of a timed 20 minutes, and the second ends only when the set score gets reached. During the first half, the quaffle players and the beaters work together to score goals and stop the other team from scoring.
Hello and welcome back to our series of the week, the biggest rivalry in Major League Quad Ball, a division-deciding series between the New York Titans and the Boston Forge. I'm Ethan Sturm alongside Teddy Costa. Teddy, we are about to send it out for team introductions, but in the meantime, how pumped are you for this series?
I'm excited. I mean, I tell you what, if I was playing in this series, my heart rate would be probably like over 100 right now before you even get going. Like there's juice on the field tonight. You can feel it from both teams warming up. They got the lights on. They're on the turf. They're locking down the island. There's so much hype around this event. It's a great time.
There is bad blood of kind of the spark plug that propelled Boston to that 2-0 sweep. After that, it was Boston for a long time until right before COVID. In Game 3 of that series, New York finally got over the hurdle. I'll take a break, though. We're going to send it in for team introductions.
We would like to first introduce to you the reigning MLQ East Division champions, the 3-time MLQ champions, entering the game with a 6-0 record, the Boston Forge! Who are still meeting over there. Can you get them to run out?
You're doing great.
Here, have some more music.
Sorry, we're just waiting a couple more minutes to get those introductions started. But yeah, kind of working through that history some more. We have that finals match in the series. Then we have coming back out of COVID, New York finally getting over the hurdle on their home field, winning the division from Boston. And then it seemed like maybe they were two ships moving in different directions from there. And then New York.
No, I told them as soon as.
So, Teddy, we've kind of built up some of the story of the game and the story of this rivalry, but let's get a little bit into the X's and O's because that's where I know you love to live. Let's start with this Boston team, a team that, has so long been on top of this division, but at this point, how does Boston turn the tide in this series?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an uphill battle, right? You're going into enemy territory. It's always tough. They have all the moments in winning and losing games, and one of the things that I think separated some of those early Boston New York matchups is until 2019, I don't know that they thought they could win. Yeah. And now you look at that team, and I don't think they think they can lose. And that's really the difference between a good team and a great team. X's and O's wise, we're going to see who's more prepared. Boston played 2-2 for 3 games straight in their last series and rolled. New York has played a high press mark defense for every game this season, and they've been rolling. I want to see what the adjustments are. Who can make the other team adjust first, and we'll see who's more prepared when those adjustments come around, kind of that chess match coming up.
Yeah, and 5 years ago, it kind of felt like mark defense was a solved defense, right? It felt like it was something that everyone was scared to use because it was so easy to put away. And hey, this New York, program or group, as you want to call it, has put their own spin on it, right? They have the keeper step out in certain situations and basically play a zero at hoops and say, hey, if you want to shoot from that far away, you can. Otherwise, you need to find a way through us. And that's had some results. What do you think Boston can kind of do to try to attack that mark a little more effectively?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is there's film on it. You got to know what situation is that keeper stepping out. What spaces on the field can we use? And the other thing is just game plan for it. There's 1,000,001 different ways to beat mark defense. Utilize what will get your players in the best positions possible. I know I personally always like ball screens because I like to be able to read 2 guys and know where the space is going to be behind and who's going to adjust to help on the roll. Ian Skura has told me when we played on Pandas to stay the heck out of his way, right? So there's plenty of ways to skin the cat. You just need to make sure that you are prepared, organized, and intentional and composed in the way that you do that. Do not let the other team speed you up. Have confidence in your system and know that you want to make sure that you're sending cuts to attack rotations. Make their beaters come out and play as far away from hoops as possible. Try to expose them as much as you can. But be crisp on the ball. Whatever decision you make it full speed, and use plenty of ball screens to get yourself.
With the team today, Max Havlin and Louis Shu. of the city, arguably of the beating position. This team is going to need to step up without them. Who do you think you're kind of keying in on to try to do that in the beater game?
It's Leanne Dillman and it's Kieran Collier. Longtime Bosnia pair. I mean, staples of this program. It's been great to see Kieran come up, build their way up into a lot of minutes, serious, important minutes on this team for so long. And Leanne Dillman, immediate spark plug since 2016 when she joined. I mean, I'd say Leanne Dillman definitely deserves to be in in contention for the most important players and beaters in this team and in this sport. I know I certainly owe a lot of anything I did as a point defender to her telling me what to do behind me. So they can play with anybody. I think the beater depth is going to be the question. And even if you think Boston's beater depth is maybe not as strong as New York's, can they give parity and so that the chasers can take advantage of holes behind it? In New York, it's about imposing your will and staying composed if the pace slows down.
Yeah, and Leanne Dillman, a product of the Emerson program, as is Kieran Collier. Tessa Mullins on the other side, a product as well. And when you talk about bad blood, she played with a lot of these players and made the switch to New York a year ago. We're about to get started though here. Chris Lecomte is on the call. Looks like Taylor Crawford and Mike Lee, both in the green headbands, I believe, are running for the quad ball. And we are off. It's actually John Jackson who wins the race, gets the ball back to Lee. Lee's going to settle things down in the dodgeball game. Tate Kay and Tessa Mullins for New York have control against Aaron McCready and Will Andrews. Rest of the starting lineup for New York, Lindsay Morella and Yanko. Rest of the starting lineup for Boston, Taylor Crawford, Sarah Delk, and Tyra Beckman with Peter Lawrence at the hoops. Morella's taking her time, a patient start here against control. Crawford in his box was playing with most of this line all week at World Cup, but is now on the other. Yanko cutting. Yanko gets around Beckman. Yanko off the bottom of the middle hoop and down. New York on the first possession of the series puts it away. Does lose bludger control though.
Textbook. Hey, I love it right there. That's great patience. Great job of dragging the defense behind. Boston came out in that 2-2 that they ran all last series. And John Jackson said, hey, come play with me. Force the rotation with the beaters. 2 passes back around, and there's nobody to stop that shot from Yanko.
Crawford with the quad ball on the far side, trying to get by Mike Lee in the green headband, using the dodgeball control they have with Andrews and McCready. McCready makes a beat on Mullins. It's going to be brief, no bludgers. And it's Yanko who had a huge wrap on Lawrence, and Lawrence just toughed it through and puts it through. I thought if anything it was going to be caught. I didn't think there was a chance Lawrence was getting that ball through the hoop.
I called Lawrence in the Ottawa series an enormous mass of strength and charisma or something along those lines, and you see it come through there. The huge goal with players draped all over them and the big smile on the way back. And we talk about the chess match. We talked about, you and I, even before the camera starts rolling, mark defense this, mark defense that. Well, all right, there's 2 at hoops, and Morella sagging off the hoops right there. So chess match has already started.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting conversation, as we go. I don't think these teams are necessarily going to play exactly one strategy for the entirety of this series. I think we're going to see a lot of different strategies and, maybe even different strategies from different lines. And hey, I think Boston's kind of giving us a unique line start. I don't think a lot of these players would have been the players, maybe with the exception of Taylor Crawford, we went on offense.
Yeah, and it looks like they're trying to send a message physically. One of the keys to the game for Boston right now, kind of, you talk about keys to the game, it's 2 sides of a coin, right? If you're New York, you're the home team, you're rolling, you have what should be the advantage mentally and momentum-wise. Do not get outworked. Do not give anybody any second chances. Do not let a lesser team than you think they can hang in this game. That's what you're telling New York. And if you're on Boston side, it's, hey, send a message. Go punch them in the mouth. Be the more physical team that is, and the way that they attack that goal, you're standing in front of it. I'm going to go through you anyway. That's an identity type of goal right there. We'll see if it carries through.
Yeah, and then on the Boston side, yes, they give up that first goal, but when we're talking in the beater game here, I mean, Max and Lou not with this team, but, it's a staple for them to kind of make that play for dodgeball control, even if it gives up that opportunity.
Yep.
Yes, New York gets that no bludger. Yes, Yanko is able to put it away. But, hey, they got control. They were able to turn that into a goal on the other end. Now the question is, can they get extended control off of that, and can they actually start to work off of that?
Yeah, I think extended control for either team in this situation means the ability to control the pace, as it does it in most games. And I think pace is going to be a major thing. Boston likes to play in transition. Well, New York loves to play in transition. That is, they have built pressure into their identity, and they are weaponizing their defense to create offense so far this season. And it's going to be paramount if Boston, again, they don't have to win the beater game. If they can sit on control, if they can make New York take time, that will keep the score lower. You got to love Boston's chances in the flag runner game. I said it to you before the game. I think the magic number is 11. I think if Boston lets the pace get fast enough so that New York scores 11 quad ball goals, regardless of what happens in the flag runner game, I think that pace is too unsustainable for them to win. So that's my number to watch this game is 11.
Yeah, and yes, this New York team loves to get out in transition, but this specific New York line is so good at taking lengthy possessions and fighting against that, dodgeball control.
Yeah.
You look at the stats. Lindsey Morello has 1 turnover this season. Yanko has 4. This is a team that's so careful with the ball. And the question is, when we talk about, looking at last year's championships and the way New York played Austin versus the way Boston played Austin, New York was willing to be patient when the other team's defense was sitting down with dodgeball control under its hoops. Boston's not a team who's always been known for that. It's not a way they want to play offense. So this is such an interesting possession for me because a classic Boston team would not say we want to sit on dodgeball control here and play deep at the hoops. They would be aggressive with their dodgeballs still. So this possession right here with Tate K and with Tessa Mullins coming down against them without dodgeball control, what are Andrews and McCrady's looks going to be? I think it's going to tell you a lot about how this series might play out.
And you mentioned different strategies for different lines. I would expect McCrady and Andrews to be more likely to try to set on control. I expect, like a Biddles and Weishart or Dillman and Collier to be more likely to come out and play a little bit, try to see if they can force some rush decisions from these great New York ball handlers.
Yeah, and the early decision is hoops, but it is Will Andrews running out on the pass. That's going to get Will Andrews a little bit out there. McCrady's now out there as well. Morello, though, I think is just going to have to use a reset. It was a win for the Hoops D of Boston. Morello just tries one. Tate K is the only person there to beat it. This is a crazy sequence. And it's going to be Crawford, I think, who's finally going to be able to get it. But Tate K almost was able to create a goal. And now Taylor Crawford might be able to run transition. Going to have to take on John Jackson. Does get the corner, but I don't think he's going to be able to make a cut towards hoops. Finds Beckman, though, on the follow. Beckman high-stepping. Beckman dunking. Boston has its first lead of the series.
I want to go higher. My goodness. Hey, how about that for Boston wants to play slow, right? 2 for 2 so far.
Yep. And here it is again. I think they're going to set right back up in that hoops defense with the dodgeball sitting deep. Andrews, though, as we saw, was able to run out in the first one, can take advantage of that this time and run out with him. Morello has the ball on the far side, gets it back to Yanko. This time it's not going to be a beater step. Beckman does get beat. K is able to get a loose dodgeball. Meanwhile, it's a floater. Goes high. Morello over to Yanko. Yanko pump fakes once. Yanko goes right around Delk, puts it through. Taylor Crawford considering running. I think that's going to be a mistake because Beckman's going to get beat. And there it was a little bit too aggressive from Boston. Scores 2-2 and the ball is right back in New York's hands, though dodgeball control still with McCrady and Andrews.
If there was a picture definition of a player feeling themselves, it would be this shot of Tate K right now. My goodness, he's going off. And I love the positioning. It's going beyond I'm going to try to beat out a side hoops defender. He's beating him out on the rotation, so he's not even getting into right next to the hoops and little tiny tap beats. He's waiting for rotation and forcing an extra one by beating that player as they're approaching the defense.
Oh, Yanko, we talked about not many mistakes, but makes one there. Taylor Crawford's going to pick it off. Taylor Crawford beats John Jackson in the one-on-one. 3-2, Boston.
The hands from Taylor Crawford, like a couple of oven mitts.
And I got to say, hey, it's a close game right now. It's not like Boston's going on a run, but there's a lot of consternation in the faces of the Titans players right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking with Harry Greenhouse beforehand, asking him how's the team look, how's practice. He says they feel good. He says they feel loose. I knew Harry would say that, so I don't even know if he's lying to me. But he brought up he could feel a tension, and I can relate to that. If you're a team that's heavily favored, you're a team that feels like you have no excuse to lose, and like New York probably would feel right now. That's when you start bickering a little bit. I mean, me and Jake Archibald would bicker all the time about where were you on that? You threw it over my head, things like that. And it's about great teams will keep their composure. They will get back to their bread and butter, and they'll make sure that they just make the next play.
So Kay is going into the box. I assume is not going into the box due to the goal, but does get a blue card. I think it was for disrespecting officials. Sorry, it was for playing after beat. So it looks like it will happen after the goal, and Kay will have to serve the time.
Honestly, it could be a quick blow for Kay. If he comes back with his head composed, no reason he can't come back and dominate this game.
So 3-2 Boston here. I think the discussion has to be where the quad ball is going to go here.
Yeah.
Immediately after the goal, I believe it will stay with New York, even with the blue card. Crystal Comp just figuring things out for the team.
Yeah. And we got a great set of officials out here today. You know, makes it easy on people like me that like to let other people know the rules.
Yeah, we're not here to second guess the refs. We're not here to call the rules. We're just telling you what they tell us.
Absolutely.
Smart play by Mike Lee here in no real rush to get the ball back. Now it's the full-on press. Will Andrews is in the zone, but Mike Lee does have immunity. Gets it across to Morella. Tessa Mullins trying to make a play. Now all the dodgeballs are on the ground. John Jackson, an aggressive pass to Mike Lee. There are no dodgeballs there right now. But again, just a miscommunication from New York. Is Yanko able to save it? The refs are calling the ball out. And the beat happened anyway. So press is successful. New York was able to kill the dodgeball penalty. Only 30 seconds in MLQ this year for the blue cards.
I'll tell you what, I love what Tom DeMuth has this team playing like right now. It makes you think these teams are wearing the wrong jerseys. Boston is absolutely taking the approach of, hey, nobody thinks we can win. We read all the articles in between. We're going to come out, punch this team in the mouth, and beat them at their own game. And so far, they have dominated the pace. They have dominated in transition. It's still early. We'll see how the dust settles, but definitely an interesting start so far.
And hey, at the same time that New York's top line, star line is coming off the field, Boston's is coming on. Ian Skura on the field, Zach Doyle, who has been an absolute genius of a wing player this year on the field, and Athena Mayer as well. Mayer has the ball on the wing. Carson Olazaba, the last member of this line coming in, along with Kieran Collier and Leanne Dillman, who you talked about before the series. New York looking to press out a bit, but still dodgeball control with Boston, as it has been all game since that first possession. Skura is in the lane. Considers a shot a couple times, does get past Lee, fakes a handoff.
This isn't your mom's zone. This is a little half zone, half man, amoeba. I love what they're doing. Very active on the hoops, but credit to Boston for being composed and just finding the easy shot on that one.
Morella and Yanko staying on the field, but head coach Frank Minson alongside Leo Freed will be joining them. Devin Lee and Freed gets it free to hops over a beat there from Dillman, finds a cutting Yanko. Yanko puts it through. A nice little spark plug play there from the young player from Harvard.
First time we've ever seen that from him. Oh, fantastic play by Leo Freed. Some old school. You don't see a lot of dodgeball these days, especially from the younger players who grew up in a different era than we did. So I love that. Just an athletic player making plays.
Yeah, and that's a hat trick already for Yanko in this game. All three of New York goals have come from him, but still a 4-3 lead early here for the Forge. There was talk with Collier, but I don't believe they did turn over his dodgeball. So it is going to be dodgeball control finally back for New York. Skura has the ball. It's a high press there from Lee. It's Lee's favorite game. Dillman, though, catches a ball from Barnes. Meanwhile, the ball does go out of bounds. Yanko's going to be in back of Christian Barnes. Exactly what Boston needed. They're going to be able to sit now in their defense with control. Doyle gets beat as Minson gets into the lane. Avery Oliver is now time. It's an attempted hurdle by Leo Freed, but Leanne Dillman has the medicine, makes the beat, and forces the turnover.
Yeah, well done by Boston's beaters. They end up with control off of that, too. Let's see if New York goes back into that man that they played at the end of the last possession when they finally had control.
Yeah, it's Oliver marking Zach Doyle, and I think that is the play for a player who has been absolutely incredible for this team so far this season. 16 goals, 11 assists, 1 turnover. Athena Mayer drives the lane. I believe they called her beat before, and Frigman's picked up. Frigman's going all the way, end to end. The head coach looking to lead by example. Bounces off Ian Skura twice, dunks it home. We are all square at 4.
How strong. That's very strong from Frank Minson right there. Great job. Way to lift the team up in transition. And you mentioned Zach Doyle getting best players I've ever played with around hoops are Lindsay Morella and then Zach Doyle. Just absolute weapons in the air around hoops. So it'll be an exciting spectacle to see what happens around the hoops this game.
Yeah, and if you like watching high pressing beating, you want to watch Devin Lee. There he does take an exchange with Leanne Dillman. Dodgeballs are on the ground. Barnes still has one. Lee's able to pick his up as well. Collier loses an exchange there with Lee. Mayer's in the lane, gets wrapped by Leo Freed. Oh, it's a dodge. Another hurdle of a beat. Zach Doyle's able to do it. Does wear a dodgeball, but does get the ball over to Skura. Skura is trying to get around Minson. Minson has a wrap, and we do get a stoppage. Yanko, I think, might be headed towards the box, at least based on his broom throw, but we'll wait to hear from the refs.
I mean, hey, we thought this game might be messy because of the defensive identity of New York and the scramble that it puts on other teams. So far, it hasn't gotten too messy, but it's not exactly the cleanest quad ball you've ever seen.
Yeah, I think that was just actually a call for a beat before, either a pass on one of the players on Boston. So New York has a chance to get its first lead since they were up 10-0 in this game. They do have dodgeball control. Lee and Barnes looking to make a play. Dillman just throws it right over Lee there. It's going to be a no dodgeball situation. Mints it over the top to Oliver. Oliver, though, gets wrapped by Doyle. Yanko has it. Yanko already has 3, looking for 4. Doyle still marking. Oliver, a nice screen, a one-handed grab by Freed. Freed fakes once, and it is a gang tackle. That is four purple shirts there, but Leo Freed got it through the hoop.
That's creativity, and that's effort right there. Leo Freed threw the hoop while it was falling over, but before it had hit the ground. That's creative because you're in that situation as a player, you're thinking, oh crap, what did I just do to myself?
Mayer there tries to float one to Doyle, but it's a great read by John Jackson getting off the hoops, knocking that one down. Things are starting to swing in the direction of New York after that really good start, but it is New York now subbing in another dodgeball line. We've seen Devin Lee do it in spurts. It seems like 3 minutes, though, is about his limit for how long he's going to go off the way he does. Meanwhile, Collier and Dillman still in the game with control. They're facing now against Hickmott and Jason Ng.
It feels like the section of the game where the underdog that's coming out with all kinds of energy is starting to settle, back to how you expected them to play. If I'm Tom DeMuth, I'm keeping a close eye on when I need to call my timeout, even if it's early. Game 1, you can't really call it too early, in my opinion.
Oh, and Yanko hits the lane. Leo Freed goes high behind it. Midnight may be coming a little early for this Cinderella. We'll see what Tom DeMuth wants to do about it. Harry Greenhouse, one of the team's coaches and one of their most veteran players onto the field, maybe just to kind of calm things down a little out there. Skur is able to be walked right into the keeper's own box, but doesn't take the shot, goes to Greenhouse instead. A screen from Doyle, but the pass goes all the way up to Skura. Doyle really does like working those little pick and rolls recently with Skura and Mayer, all 3 on the field. Leo Freed not biting on anything Skura's given him. Mayer briefly, Doyle, they lost. I think it's a beautifully set up play by the beaters. It looked like Serena Montero and Kieran Collier were able to create that space around that hoop, and New York never saw it coming because all the play was happening on the other side. But now it's transition opportunity. Mike Lee back on the field. Leo Freed gets him. Leo Freed's crashing to the hoops. Leo Freed one-hands it over Greenhouse. Leo Freed puts it through. Not really a fair size matchup there. And it's a quick hat trick now from Leo Freed, who's going to sub out.
I love the back and forth there. New York definitely did see it coming, and they were unable to stop it, and they said, all right, we'll make sure we get one on the other side. Ng was by the center hoop while Boston was overexposed on the outside hoops. Boston got one just to give it right back.
Morgan Bertram goes deep in the defensive zone without much help. Jason Ng is able to clean that up, and now John Jackson's looking to go the other way. Freed, I thought they were subbing out, staying in the game. Might have another cut, though. It's going to be Lee. Yeah, it's Lee over to Freed. It's Freed with the one-handed alley-oop attempt, but it goes wide. Oliver is able to keep the ball in the offensive zone. Seinberg is on her. Oliver all the way in the lane. Oliver tries the shot over Greenhouse, but it goes wide.
If you're Boston, you got to limit the second chance opportunities. I'll tell you what, to see Leo Freed climb the ladder like that, I was about to fall out of my chair. That was hype. And it's funny, we talked about the Emerson connections and everything. New York making sure that they mark around the hoops. They're in that old school Emerson zone. So they got one at the point in the green headband, 2 at the hoops, and one floating free safety kind of back behind. It's interesting, right? As a coach, you see that, you're like, all right, well, we like our box formation. We'll run that. We're going in.
I assume that had to have been the Freed shot because I don't think the late shot got too close. We'll have to get clarification from the ref staff later. It's Oliver if it was the second shot. It's Freed if it was the first shot.
Feels a little bit late to fall out of my chair now, but I'll tell you, it wasn't.
If Freed put that through, it was pretty sick.
It was electric, I'll tell you what. But it's interesting. So if you're Boston and you see that kind of diamond-shaped zone, do you attack it out of a box and risk letting the New York beaters speed you up in the top corners by half? Or do you try to get in a little diamond and really zip it around and make sure that you're on time with those passes?
So the important distinction between it and the Emerson zone is that that player behind is playing more of a mark situation, and you need that person who's marked to create for your teammates. That's the best way to attack it. We'll see what they're doing here, but it seems like they've broken that zone now.
Yeah.
Or at least Mike Lee is just following Skura around wherever Skura goes. Bertram has the ball on the far wing, gets it back to Skura.
Yeah, a triangle and one.
Yep.
Basically.
Yeah, it's a
I
look
love
we've
it.
seen a lot from the Warriors and from this Titans team recently. So many defense out of the Titans. Ian Skur, though, gets everyone to beat on everybody
man.
to bite on a ball fake, goes around the hoops, throws one back, gets it in the hoop. That is the exact little moment that I think this Boston team needed, just something to go down.
Yeah, you need something. Yeah, you need to see something go through in that instance. You need something to steady the tide. I played in games like that before where you feel like you're getting good opportunities from time to time, and when they stop falling in, you just press a little bit. You get a little tight. The decision-making is late, and it's wrong, and the game really snowballs away from you. So that's big in the early moments here from Skura.
Yeah, Skura, the team's leading assist getter, but not the leading scorer, but they're just found an opportunity to really get every single player on the defense biting on a fake and go around. Meanwhile, it's going to be John Jackson on the near side. Hoop zone again from Boston. Lee has the ball in the zone. Gets it over to Jackson. Brief step-ups, but now it's going to be a step back. Finishes through contact in this series. John Jackson, just the latest of them, really been a defining factor. And speaking of finishing through contact, Zach Armintrading now on the field for Titans. We know that's a player that's going to finish through contact.
Absolutely. And Armintrading has been great to see, develop. I remember before Armintrading even make this team, and now a huge contributor, played at World Cup last weekend, an absolute force on the field. So you love to see stories like that of players working their way up and improving so much and being major key contributors for huge minutes in series-defining moments.
14 goals on the season already for Armintrading. Steinberg has the ball behind, does get the ball back out to Greenhouse after wearing a beat. Greenhouse, a high contact there. Bertram, I'm not sure if that was called a goal. At minimum, though, Mike Lee is definitely headed to the box for some high contact.
Great play by Greenhouse to still put that pass on Bertram's face. We talk about finishing through contact. Bertram is one of the best in the league at that for her position.
Mike Lee seems perturbed that Harry Greenhouse is short enough for that to be net contact, but,
Well, if Mike Lee stayed down and slid his feet, maybe he'd make contact where he's supposed to.
So the ball's going to go back to Skura or maybe Greenhouse. Greenhouse just checking in with John Jackson. Greenhouse always a talker out on the field for positive and negative.
Yeah, I just let it slip too. I wouldn't say that to any player on the stream. That's only because I used to coach Mike. He's a great guy.
A lot of RPI representation on both sides of the ball in this series, specifically on the Boston side, but obviously Mike Lee on the New York side as well.
Mike Lee, along with Leanne Dillman, has played for both franchises.
Sure.
Little fun fact. Though it's nice to see a league, growing long enough to get more trivia facts and fun facts in here.
Oh, Greenhouse, a beater called, I think, to make.
Great composure from Greenhouse, and it's almost not getting scared, but that's a big frame on Armintrading. He tried to shoot it instead of dunk it, and I don't blame him. But to have miss a bunny and then get another chance later in a possession, you make sure that you make that one with a good pump fake. Veteran heady play right there from Greenhouse, who's been around the block a few times.
Yeah, for those looking, alley-oop on low hoops. Top hoop you can always go in first clutch, but a lot of the times second clutching on a low hoop alley-oop is going to open things up because people are always going to bite on it. And, it's not easy. Their body is going to be there, so you really need to compose yourself. And it's a great read there by Harry Greenhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I talked about it on the auto stream a little bit. It's something, if you're a young player, work on it. It feels easy, right? It feels dumb to be practicing layups and dunks, but you got to make sure that you make 100% of them if you get that close to the hoops, and it's not easy, right? So you see like a player like Lindsay Morella makes it look easy.
Yep. It's
not. To get the ball off your hands that quick, you can't see where the beaters are, who's going to hit you, but you got to move quick.
So Andrew Biddles is going to pick up a yellow card foul, and that is going to negate the goal, which is going to put Mike Lee back in the box, but I think New York is happily going to take that. And Boston is going to need to use its timeout now. Because they're about to face a Zach Armintrading head of steam, and Armintrading kind of, mean mugging a little over to that Boston bench because he knows what's coming, and he wants to make sure the Boston bench knows what's coming off the stoppage.
I love the swagger in that situation. Also interesting to point out, I know during the stoppage, Harry Greenhouse's broom was squarely on his own side of the defense, and now it doesn't look like it is. We'll see if he's able to veteran move his way into getting back in front of that ball before startup.
I have once watched you move a broom a solid 10 yards during a stoppage. So.
I called it a veteran move for a reason. Hey, you can't knock effort. That's all I'll say about that. Everybody's trying to win.
So you're Boston. You come out and you kind of give a unique look. You get kind of New York on the back foot, but now things are kind of going away from you. What are you trying to say in your huddle to kind of calm things down?
You are saying be calm, be patient, do the little things right, right? We want to play fast, but we don't want to rush. Does that make sense? Play with urgency without rushing. So you just want to make sure whatever your bread and butter is, if you're Boston, what do you spend the most time doing in practice? What did you do the most this week leading up to this New York team? You should know what your reads are and where the ball needs to go. You want to make sure that you're just doing the little things right. And this break was perfect. I said I don't think you can call a timeout too early in game one if you're Boston. You want to make sure this becomes a series if you're able to take the first one. And so that's one of the things you want to make sure we keep playing with the same intensity, same effort, same physicality, but make sure that the fundamentals and the mental focus is there.
Yeah, I had to coach against Armin Trading last weekend twice, and the pregame huddle both times, you have to gang tackle Armin Trading. There is a number of Boston players around, but how are they going to be able to step to it? It feels like the physicality from Boston has not been the same since they took that first line out, and this is a chance for them to set a tone.
Yep, good but not great. They're only even with New York, and so I think so far New York's talent and pace is outplaying them right now. It's imperative for Skura to get in front of Armin Trading and get low. If you're in this situation with Skura, you need to aim 2 steps closer to your hoops than where you think that you need to be so that you can get your hands around his thighs. That's your best chance.
Yep, so New York playing down a chaser right now. Boston playing down a beater. So dodgeball control obviously in the hands of New York. Vinny Chico is subbed on alongside Tessa Mullins. But Zach Armin Trading versus the world right here. Armin Trading gets ahead of steam. Skura tries to shoulder bump him. Armin Trading, though, does eat the tackle of Greenhouse, the tackle of Steinberg, and the block of Skura, and still puts it through. It's another goal for New York.
And kids at home, I can't emphasize this enough. If you're trying to tackle someone bigger than you got to get below their waist. I highly recommend grabbing thighs. You can't hit anything below the knees, but there's a lot of space on bigger players on the thighs. All you need to do in that situation is hold them up long enough for your players to go make a tackle.
And things are going from bad to worse as again it's Armin Trading with a head of steam. A well-executed press by Chico and Mullins. An easy turnover on the beat of Skura, and Armin Trading is ready to pick it up and run. He gets his second, and suddenly it's a 5-goal lead for New York.
Absolute weapon to have off the bench in this situation. Like you don't even notice John Jackson's on the field right now. Which is also bad news if you're trying to play against them. Talk about beasts in transition.
Yeah, John Jackson says, I want some of this, and steps up to the point and sends Armin Trading back down to the hoops. It is going to be a mark look here from New York.
And Boston's playing too isolated right now. And I think the whole league's playing too isolated against New York's mark defense right now.
Yep.
Don't try to win one-on-one everywhere, otherwise that happens.
Another press, another John Jackson knockdown, another no blunder situation. We have seen this story before. Mike Lee's going to take his chance this time, gets right around Skura, lays it in easy as can be. The lead is up to 6, and someone in this beater game for Boston is going to need to get something under control because Tate K is stepping back onto the field with Christian Barnes.
Yeah, I'm begging Boston to set an off-ball screen here. New York has a well-established, it's all over the tape going back to USQ season, going back to last season a little bit. The USQ season before that, it's a no-fly zone. Don't try to throw a 40-foot pass over them because they're too good in coverage. Their beaters are playing great. They're playing loose. Go help each other, right? Now you can maybe attack the switch right here, short-sided in front of your beater with Beckman.
Yep. Well, Lawrence is bringing it around. It is a lot of this first line, McCready and Andrews. It's a long pass by Lawrence, kind of 3M to a fast break. Boston is finally going to get to play some half-court defense, but that is, not all that big of a reward here as things go from bad to worse.
Against control as well. Boston back in the 2-2. We'll see if they're able to protect the edges of their zone a little bit better from these New York beaters with control who are absolutely feasting on the edges in the keeper zone. Here's 1.5.
Morello gets the ball across to Minson. Minson, though, throws it. It's knocked down by Beckman. Beckman producing a much-needed defensive stop on a rare error there from New York.
And if you're Tom DeMuth here, right, so it's a good job of Peter Lawrence on the last one by recognizing Sierra Delk as the unmarked chaser. Utilize your unmarked chaser to free up somebody off the ball and then go free up somebody on the ball, right? Go create, just like if you feel like you don't have a winning opportunity in the beater game, utilize your 2-on-1s. It's the same in the chaser game, right? I mean, football, basketball, whatever, any sport that you get, can you create a numbers advantage in where you're trying to attack? And that's where Boston and most teams that have played this marked defense of New York so far are struggling. They're kind of peeing down their leg a little bit instead of being confident.
Yeah, and I think part of the thing is we're not seeing much beater chaser around, and then their beaters just have to try to make a play for control all by themselves. Right now, Christian Barnes is keeping the beaters out of the lane.
Yep.
It's a pass over to Delk. Delk can't handle it. Morello is flying in the area as well. Another easy stop. I don't even think their beaters got a chance to play for dodgeball control in that possession. Take K is flying into the lane. Eric Paguada is in the lane. 2 hoops go down. I think we might have to talk about this one.
Honestly, not the. As long as it doesn't result in a game about attacking the press and how an overextended defense can leave you with opportunities. The New York defense a lot of the time isn't overextending, and they're able to do that with control because they have two strong engaged beaters on the field at a time. With one of them locking up the only other dodgeball, the other one's just flying and letting their chasers play lockdown, like defensive backs. And you have to stay composed and know where your open players are if you are a team facing that. And if you can't, then play behind your beater that has the ball. Get a double team on Christian Barnes in this instance, who is locking up your personal offensive engaged beater, and see if you can create numbers advantage.
Paguada just gets the ball back to Jackson, who gets it across to Morello. Meanwhile, Aaron McCready has made a tackle on Christian Barnes. McCready does get beat out as Paguada brings along the far side. Tate K is ushering in Paguada. Ball over to Jackson. Jackson has a lane to run in, hits the mid-range shot.
He's not going to miss that.
No, when it's raining, it's pouring, and I don't have the exact numbers on what this run is, but I have to imagine that it's at least 7-1, if not more.
Yeah, hey, we said the number was 11, and that's 13. You know Boston's going to score against this team, but if they're going to score 12 goals today, it can't be at the cost of giving up 20.
Yeah, 5-0 run here for New York, really starting to stabilize this game. They're even reaching deeper into their depth now. Knowing they have 2 beat on Lawrence. Minson's going to be first there. McCrady's able to make a big beat to stop things. Actually might get dodgeball control out of this.
New York's playing 2 steps faster right now in the beater game. And that's no good. McCready is down.
McCready slow to get up after eating a charge there from Tate K. My best guess is probably the wind knocked out. But it's just been so tough for Boston to find anything in these, press situations. And I think that's kind of the thing that's turned the game. Yes, we had started to see New York just win out in general in the half courts, but it's these presses that made this game get so ugly so fast.
Yeah. And that's the thing about pace of play and what makes this sport so unique compared to other sports. The flag runner's 3.5 goals. Yeah. So there are times you can lose, and if you keep the pace of play the right way, still win the game, as we see McCready walking off the field now, jogging off the field.
Has played through a lot of injuries, has come back from a lot of injuries. Just had an absolute phenomenal performance for Team Canada at the World Cup last week.
One of the best athletes in the sport.
Yeah. And, a huge first shift in this game. She and Will Andrews are a lot of the reason why Boston was hanging in this game early on.
I will say they looked a little shell-shocked in the beater game.
Yep. Hagag stutter steps a few times, gets to Minson. Getting a little too cheeky here is New York. Hits the lane, gets a pass out to Paguada. Bobbled. Lawrence picks it up.
I wonder if the coach will have anything to say about the no-look behind the back. Got dropped on that one.
I don't know. It depends how much Minson likes to talk to himself. Does sub himself out, to his credit. Does seem that he appreciated his mistake. But, just coming in droves here. Devin Lee steps back onto the field. We haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, and you sub off Frank Minson for a fresh Yanko.
And away here, Williams just gets beat out by a tap beat. Lawrence trying to stop Hagag, though, does get beat. Crawford, though, able to make the tackle in the zone. Yanko comes up with it. I think Crawford might be getting a card. Crawford is going to get a card for dismounting, but finishing the tackle. Thought it was a pretty good stop, but the card is going to allow New York to settle things down. Annika Kim now into the game for the first time for the Titans out of the Rutgers program.
Good job of being physical in transition, though. You got to keep it's the hardest thing, but if you're ever going to dig out of a hole, you got to make sure that the physicality's up.
Yanko misses the shot at the low hoop. Paguada has it behind, gets it to Doyle. Doyle might have gotten beat before throwing it back, but no call to be had. Pierre Lawrence has a chance to run. It's no dodgeballs. Can Lawrence take on Yanko here? slips by. The things Peter Lawrence has done in no dodgeball situations have been absolutely huge for Boston. Finds Zach Doyle. Doyle has the free put away. That's going to be a hat trick from Doyle here.
How about that? I love thinking on the fly there too, because that was not the look. You high step like that and cut back. Didn't think plan A was not to get wrapped, but a good job by Doyle running with his teammate to finish it up.
New York settling for the last possession of the game here. Score is 130-70. Sorry, the last possession of the Seeker floor. And Kim has the ball up top, gets it across to Paguada. Kieran Collier eats a beat. Oh, big catch there by Lead. No dodgeballs for a second. Loose ball. It's going to be fallen on by Delk. That is going to take us to the 20-minute timeout. No, there is a card. I think Doyle is headed to the box for an illegal wrap. And right as they kill one power play, it's just another one.
Yeah, you can't knock the effort there. One of the
and it's the bounce pass there from Mohagag under the hoops to Yanko. Yanko puts in his 4th of the game. The lead stretches to 7. And in some ways it feels a bit like this New York team's playing with their food. They're all the way in their depth, and they're still, if not holding serve, even extending the lead.
Playing with swagger, playing free. You love to see it. If you're in the New York huddle right now, you say you do not change a darn thing. You make sure that there are no effort, no fluke, no broken plays that give Boston any life. You make sure that you keep your foot down while still keeping the mental focus to execute on the little things.
Yeah, and from the time it was 30-20 Boston, it has been 120-40 in favor of New York. It's been so one-sided through this middle period. Over in the Boston huddle for the team, definitely at championships, if not in the Washington series, has rejoined, also one of the assistant coaches for the team. Hopefully can, help settle down what is, as we talked about, beyond Collier and Dillman, a very young beater crew who, is up against, one of the most dominant beater crews around.
Yeah, I'd like to see more working together from the Boston Beaters in this beater game, right? Like, you don't need to win the entire field to take over, and that's the illusion that New York gives in this excellent press. We said that it's about a chess match and who's more prepared. I love what New York is doing and how they're innovating defensively. They're pushing defense to a new stretch. They're not looking like everyone else, and I love that. And it really puts a lot of pressure on an offense to just figure out what's going on. One time you got 2 people at the hoops, one time you got 1 person at the hoops, one time it's a triangle and one time it's a cover 0. And if you're Boston, and my free beater protecting me, and can I set up my open passes, set up my cuts from there? And it does a lot. If a team wants to come play with you all the way over in one corner of the field, there's more green grass for you to run into, set screens into. So if you're Boston, if you're going to dig out of a hole, it's got to start on the defensive end. It's got to start with physicality. And we'll be curious to see how
his DA call-up at World Cup starting for New York. Also had 2 grabs in that series against Washington, very competitive. With this being World's Weekend for MLQ, with so many international players around, Mikel out of the French program, a long-term veteran of the French program, will be our snitch for this series.
That's one of the great things that having this series be this weekend allows.
Yep.
Just makes the atmosphere that much better.
Dodgeballs are nowhere near the Seeker game right now, but it's just going to be Jason Ng defending Greg Bento. Meanwhile, Athena Mayer is trying to drive the lane. I think there's going to be conversation about the beater. Maybe the shot went wide for the Boston side. Leo Fried, Yanko has the ball on the far side. Fakes once to Fried. Harry Greenhouse chasing around.
Interesting to see both teams keeping dodgeballs in the quad ball game. Makes some sense for both sides. If you're Boston, you need stops to dig out of it.
Crawford gets away with it, but loses the ball. Now Greenhouse has it. Greenhouse just fakes right by Yanko. The veteran, composed in the lane, puts it through. Boston gets the first goal of this period. It seems like when both Seekers are there, it's Ng defending and it's Greg Bento trying to get in. But any time that a beat can come as a high press there by the box, playing a little over-aggressive.
Yep.
We saw some card issues for Greenhouse in their series against Charlotte. This one I think maybe just a little bit more sensible, just trying to be a little bit more aggressive here in the situation.
Right.
Just not.
Which you're not mad about the hustle, but it had to be a point of emphasis here. We need to play physical without fouling. New York is too good of a team to play shorthanded.
Beat out. Yanko now hitting the lane. Yanko goes high. A great fielded pass by Morella. Her shot goes awry. Leo Fried's going to have to beat that to the half line, but it's cheap Fried, so Leo Fried couldn't keep. Morella comes down with it. Crawford sets himself. No. The ref is going to say that Crawford.
Absolutely a heady play by Morella. We talk about a veteran move. Morella never squared up to hoops, so it's not turning your back away from, into contact to bait a back contact or anything, but kept her feet moving. That means that Crawford can't possibly hit her with zero momentum. And Haggad getting some time on the flag runner now.
Yeah, and it's still power play. Crawford's still in the box. K pressuring high. K wins an exchange from McCready. K now looking to blow up the play.
Boston has to get the quad ball away from the flag runner. I know the flag runner is going back and forth, but you're letting Kay and Mullins set up at the middle of mid-pitch and affect both games, and it's really limiting their ability to get out and try to attack.
Legal procedure call there. I'm not sure if it's turning over dodgeball. Either way, it looks like Leo Fried's going to have a wide open lane to run. With the dodgeball she doesn't have, and Fried puts it away. 4 for Fried. Yanko and Fried, both on the field, have combined for 9 goals for this New York team already in this game.
Well done by Collier there to win control back. Collier and McCready with 2 little passes back and forth around the snitch, and then get a little lucky with a beat going through Collier's legs.
Fried all over that defensive end. They are able to break it, though, and Greenhouse is going to get out with a head of steam. Pump fakes once. Yanko gets the wrap. Ana Luisa Nikolai gets beat because Tate K was back there, and now it's Fried looking for his 5th, wanting to meet Yanko. No, he's just going to get it across to Yanko. Yanko does his best Fried impression, going up one-handed and puts it through.
Great concentration there from Yanko, which feels reductive. Feels like when a commentator calls an NFL player athletic, right? But it's not easy to catch those balls over your head twisting like that in transition.
Nikolai goes end to end, gets the ball over to Olazaba, a player that I think maybe I would have expected to see in this situation a little earlier for the physicality that they provide.
Yeah, took the words right out of my mouth. It's been so back and forth. I don't want to step on your call, but I couldn't agree more. You'd think you would have seen a lot more Olazaba so far. But to be honest, they haven't been able to get the ball over half. Olazaba might have been on the field for 5 minutes. I wouldn't have known. That's you talk about the disconnect between the chasers and the beaters, and it's showing right now.
So Steven Tremple, another member of that RPI program, or previous member of the RPI program, comes up with his 2nd grab of the season, and it's a big one there to give Boston a little bit of life. Scores 170-115. Set score, I believe, is 200. I apologize.
Now it's time to see clarity in the flag runner game. You get a catch, it feels like it shifts momentum, and then oops, no, it's just back to what happened in the pre-20 minutes. If you're Tom DeMuth here, you got to do whatever you can to try to steady the ship, get your players playing together. Simplify the game plan if you have to, right? Know which beater you're attacking, know what space you're trying to open up, and how you're going to try to do it. And if you're New York, you just make sure you don't make yourselves play afraid in terms of playing mistake-free, but just take the easy pass. You don't have anything to worry about. If you keep getting stops, the game will end with you on top. So you make sure that you do your due diligence on defense, don't give up any extra opportunities, and take the easy ones as they come. You're in absolutely no rush.
Yeah, and I think Boston, hey, if you can get back into this game, that is incredible. But I think the most important thing that I think Boston needs to see for itself is our beaters can hang with their beaters, even for a few possessions. Even if this goes 3-3, and that's enough to get New York over the line, but at least Boston staying composed in the beater game and hanging around, I think that's something positive they can take to game 2, because I haven't basically seen that since the first 3 minutes of this game.
I agree, and it's interesting. Sports psychology mode, I think one of the things that can help get you that confidence is with her. Go do something to set the tone, make Christian Barnes, make Tate K, make everybody over there a little bit uncomfortable, and make them play off their back foot instead of the other way around. Be the hammer, not the nail.
Yeah, so bringing back to where we are, New York has no dodgeballs in their hands. Boston has 2, and Carson Olazaba is in a great place to try to score. It's a really nice tackle. Olazaba has to hand it off, and Nikolai gets stripped from behind by Yanko. Yanko's going to consider running. I think he's quickly going to find that there's 2 dodgeballs for Boston. And Will Andrews might try to press, but great usage of space there from Boston. Christian Barnes trying to make a play on Will Andrews. Andrews able to get away with a tap beat. So it will be dodgeball control when all is said and done. No harm, no foul to New York from that press. And New York not looking like a team that wants to mess around, as most of the starters back in the game. It's going to be Lee, Jackson, Morella with Luis Mendoza out of the Rutgers program alongside, I think, first minutes he'll be playing in this one. John Jackson has the ball up top.
Boston back in the 2-2.
Morella has it on the far side. Deep sitting dodgeballs is what we've seen from Andrews and McCready. It's been the one thing that New York hasn't necessarily had an answer for.
Yeah, TK trying to set up shop a little bit around the corner, kind of take advantage of McCready being so deep. Say, we don't need to go to the corner if we can just take the edge.
Morella has it. That front hoop, that middle hoop is pretty open for her, but Carson Lozaba obviously pressuring hard. She doesn't seem to want to look that way. A wide pass there. It does seem like dodgeball control has shifted hands, so New York's finally able to do it. It's not Mendoza. Mendoza goes wide. Morella picks up the rebound. John Jackson now has no dodgeballs. Goes around Nikolai. Loose ball is on the ground. A big stop there from Boston. Boston doing all the little things we wanted to see from them, getting more physical.
Yep, they still gave up the offensive rebound on that, so they don't get an A+, but hey, they picked up the second one, so we'll call it a B+. A-.
Yep, Lawrence back out on the field. A lot of kind of a mixed bag of the first and second line, but specifically it's a very physical group again from Boston. They are up against dodgeball control again, so what ideas do they have? That seems to be the issue.
Yeah, we got a double team on Tate K.
Yep, but McCready was isolated and K wins the double team. But meanwhile, Lawrence hits the lane, can't make the floater.
Yeah, you can't really be upset about that. If you're Boston, that's exactly what we talked about. Simplify the game, get a double team, right? So they didn't win against TK. They didn't win control, but what they did was they exposed where Tessa Millens was trying to play to enable their off-ball chasers to play that tight mark defense. And you end up with somebody that can win off a dribble drive, getting a shot in the lane. That's not a bad look. You just got to execute it.
John Jackson walking the ball in alongside Mullins. Again, not a ton of height at the hoops for Boston. Those shots could be open, but that's really not this New York line's game. Not a thing you see a ton from Morella or John Jackson at this point in their career.
Yeah, they both could. It's just not, their identity, their game plan is we'll wait. We'll find a good look, and I respect the teams like Austin and New York that have that kind of mental resolve.
I was going to say, Mike Lee has never had that consternation, though, and does try to keep it in the offensive half. Of course, we are a no reset league now here at MLQ.
Yeah. Of course, RPI program doesn't raise cowards, so we're not afraid to shoot. I call that one a Shas. A little shot pass action. He knew it would get saved, so no harm, no foul in there. Don't count it in his stats as a missed shot. That's what I'd say.
Morel with the ball on the far side. Gets it over to Mendoza. Mendoza going to launch a shot this time, and that one is not going to be capable of staying in the half. So New York gets a couple shots on the possession, but not particularly close to scoring, and it will be Boston ball.
Good patient defense by Boston right there. McCready and Andrews are working their tails off right now. Good job. After a much needed, I think the last shift was maybe a little bit too long. Showing much better parity right now. Again, not winning, right, but holding their own. That's all you need to do. Not everybody's going to be on a team where you have a beating advantage every game, every series, or whatever. But every team should have an opportunity to win games. And that's how. Mendoza
just using all the effort, and out of nowhere comes Tate K, but Ian Skura is able to pick it up. Dodgeballs are everywhere on the ground. Skura trying to get away from Mullins. Ball comes right into our table here. Meanwhile, she just floats one to John Jackson. John Jackson pump fakes once. It's just two more.
That's a team goal from New York, and I mean TEAM, team, not to be excluding Tate K, who did not have a ball, doing the same move to be kept a certain way. That should be.
Now K, and as the ball goes flying right into us again, it's another. Tate K was holding on to all three.
Yep. And and even sometimes when they are, right? I think there's an inconsistency right now from Boston's side. They're extremely disconnected. You might come into this series thinking New York was the better team, had the better players, but I'll tell you what, we've seen one game, and regardless of that, they've been the more prepared team, and that has what's been the difference. Not the talent, not the home field, not locking down the park for mental games or whatever. It's been the prepare off to them for coming out strong in this first game.
Yeah, that's in transition. That's what Mike Lee's trying to do here. It's going to be, I believe, Peter Lawrence slamming the door and Morgan Bertram first to the loose ball. So another physical stop there.
Usable for a game of series of this magnitude at this level. The effort can't be something you have to question. But execution.
Yep.
There's a freebie.
And again, it's just Boston having no answers for the press, lobbing one right into Lindsey Morella's passing lane, because if the other team is playing mark against you, your open pass against that press is not across the top because somebody's sitting there. And
Certainly not.
Morella gets one of the easier goals of her life, and New York is now sitting on match point.
And I'll tell you what, you think you would have learned that after the first 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But there's nobody that dislikes the city of New York more than me. And I love the way that Morella slammed that ball through the hoops on her way to come off the field and let her teammates carry the rest of this match point.
Greenhouse tries the home run ball, does get it over. Ian Skura dodges one. They say he got the pass off before the beat. Pure effort play from Ian Skura to find a goal.
He really is that guy. We got photo evidence that Ian Skura is that guy. Hell of a play. Great job by Steinberg to run with his teammates.
But Javid Cole now looking to run down and end it. Cole rips a shot. Skura, the quick hands. Skura looking to go the other way. Has a step on Cole. Has Bertram out in front. A little 2-0 run. We talked about, can Boston get a little momentum before things end? And real quick, they did it just now.
Bertram with the slam through as well. Everybody obeying the rules of not knocking the hoops over. Congrats on that. But I like the swag. The fight's there. The fight's there. This rivalry's alive.
Potter tries a shot. Skura again shuts the door. Struggles in the half court here from New York, and Skura has Greenhouse deep if he wants some. Obviously not the tallest target. Steinberg is the other option. Does get to Steinberg. A huge hit from Fried, and Lee is there to knock out Bertram. It's eventually going to be a fast break. No, Steinberg picks it up. And honestly, I think that's the smartest thing Steinberg could have done there.
Fantastic job by Steinberg. Almost the greatest beat I've ever seen in my life from Christian Barnes while getting wrapped. No look, underhanded behind attempt at Skura inside his own keeper zone. Not quite. Also, if you're New York, you don't have a ton of corrections. Just stop shooting at Skura's side, or at least wait until he's in rotation. Go shoot at him when he's not staring at you. That's all. And this is coming from somebody who shot at more keepers staring at them than anyone in the history of the sport.
So Potter's walking the ball down. They are trying to free up space for her. He's got Fried as an option as well. Fried and Minton are in the exact same spot. Clearly this line, which I don't think is a line that New York goes to very often, not communicating as well as they could be. It's Fried over to Minton. Minton tries to cut inside, throws a pass on the ground to Potter. Collier's beat is there. Boston gets another stop.
Good job by Dillman and Collier sitting on control. That's
Punch goes right around Fried, puts it through. It is a 3-0 run for Boston since we got to game point.
Yeah, like we said, the effort's there, and like we talked about pregame, you can't sleep on Dillman and Collier. I'd put them up against any beater pair in the entire world.
Boston still would need 6. New York still needs 1. And New York does still have the option to go back to their top line. But I think it'd be such a mental win for Boston if they force that New York is almost being baited into not doing it.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I've been in those situations before, but you're right. Sometimes you play your depth in these last situations. It's like pickup basketball. The last point is the hardest to pick up. And if you don't have that chemistry on point, it gets even tougher.
Yeah, and Greenhouse rips the ball out there of Molly Potter. He has Steinberg in front of him. Steinberg just back to Skura. There is a dodgeball on the play, but Barnes has to throw it. He does get a lucky bounce. Greenhouse tries to float one. Minton's in the lane. Fried is taking off. And Kieran Collier, didn't see him, or also maybe didn't care because Leanne Dillman.
No, we got a B call.
Yeah.
Collier did see him.
So no dodgeballs. Greenhouse in the lane. Gets it off to Nikolai. Nikolai gets beat. Frank Minton's able to come down with it. A couple missed opportunities there for Boston. You feel like they get one more there and things start getting a little tough here for New York, but can't get it there.
As a guy that spent his entire career complaining to refs, I would have been loud on that one because missed it for a second and it kind of loses momentum.
Greenhouse has the ball. Greenhouse is defending the ball. It's Cole with the ball. Now Cole gets it back again from Minton. Cole's in the lane. Cole eats a beat. Minton to Cole. That is the goal that New York was looking for. A beautiful 1-2 game there between Cole and Minton. Minton puts it through. New York gets the win. Boston gets a little bit of a high point to end on, but I mean, we saw what the top lines of New York were doing to Boston for about the last 15 minutes of the secret floor, and that's the thing that I think is going to haunt Boston in this huddle going into game 2.
And right at the end of that, is kind of a microcosm of the whole game. The last possession on defense, New York created chaos and was able to win more times than not out of the chaos, and then they were better connected in the half court as well. Beaters and chasers combined. It was a 1-2, but there was also Beaters trying to turtle their hoops and play a little bit more central and behind to limit New York playing to the corners. And that's kind of a metaphor for how this whole game went, I'd say.
Yeah, and we'll see, what adjustments Boston has, I think, in the dodgeball game, but also in the press beating game and what they want to do offensively. We kind of saw finally that home run ball, right, from Harry Greenhouse to Ian Skura. I don't think we saw enough of those from Boston. New York they were good in the half court. I wouldn't say they were excellent in the half court in the way they were in transition. Yeah. So if you need to throw a couple balls down to the far end line and then play defense, that's what you got to do in these situations.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. So plan A is don't turn the ball over. Right. Plan B is turn it over in a good spot. And Boston was not very good at planning that. You definitely want to clean up a little bit. And you talk about home run balls, using the space behind and everything. You just can't do it to covered players. So, I mean, I'll tell you what, I could go over to Tom DeMuth right now and you say, use the unmarked player to open somebody up off the ball and throw to them. Don't stop playing. They had 6 players on an island instead of one team out there. New York was one team, and that's why they were too strong and came away with the win.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for Game 1. We're going to be back in a minute. I think Jack McGovern's going to grab a player from the Titans for an interview, and then we will be back a little bit after that for Game 2 of our Series of the Week. New York Titans take Game 1. They are 1 game away from their second ever East Division title. We'll be back in a few.
Don't go in.
Quadball is a sport that integrates aspects from rugby, basketball, and dodgeball to create a fast-paced, mixed-gender game that features 7 players per side. Okay, so quadball is played on a grass or turf field with 3 hoops of varying heights on each team's half. There's 4 balls in quadball, 1 quaffle, and 3 bludgers, and the players run with brooms between their legs and must complete all the play while on broom. If a player comes off broom at any point, they have to tag the center hoop on their team's half before resuming play. Alright, so there's a lot of different positions. The first 2 are chasers into their opponent's hoops. There are 3 chasers per team, and they wear a white headband, and there's 1 keeper per team, and they wear a green headband. Players move the quaffle by running and passing and shooting to attempt to score. A good goal can be scored from either side of the hoop, and it's worth 10 points. On defense, players can tackle each other, and we're talking full contact using team's players. Each team has 2 beaters at any given time. A player of any position that is hit by a bludger thrown by the opposing team's beaters must dismount their broom and rejoin play. Beaters help their quaffle players on offense to clear paths to score, as well as work to stop opposing teams from scoring. Okay, so seekers, the ones with the yellow headband, pursue the snitch runner in an attempt to grab that snitch tail from their shorts, kind of like flag football, in order to earn 35 points for their team. They don't enter the game until after the 20-minute timeout, and they leave the game immediately after a good catch has been recorded. The snitch runner is an impartial official whose sole purpose is to prevent the seekers from catching their snitch tail. They can grab, push, wrap, or run away from the seekers to stop them from catching the snitch. The snitch runner comes onto the field after the 20-minute timeout and stays until they are caught. Quad ball is played in 2 halves. The first consists of a timed 20 minutes, and the second ends only when the set score gets reached. During the first half, the quaffle players and the beaters work together to score goals and stop the other team from scoring goals. When the game clock hits 20 minutes, there's a 2-minute timeout, and that's when the seekers and the snitch runner get introduced. At the same time, they're going to determine the set score. It's determined by taking the total of the leading team's score and adding 60 points. The set score gets indicated on a scoreboard, which will be separate from the game score, and whichever team reaches the set score first, either through only quaffle points or with the addition of that snitch catch, win the game. Quad ball is a sport that integrates aspects from rugby, basketball, and dodgeball to create a fast.
Samoans, Tessa, congratulations on a great win in Game 1. You guys came out with so much energy. Tell me how much you've been looking forward to this game, this series, this rivalry against Boston.
I have a little scar on my wrist. I
Yeah.
got this in our series last year. When I tell you I look at this thing like every day, and I'm just like, we're coming, we're coming, we're coming. I've looked at this thing every day.
Yeah. Oh, you can tell you guys came out just raring to go. So what kind of things were you seeing in the beater game, as the game kind of picked up in pace?
Yeah, it got scrappy really quick, and it was like shuffling balls on the ground. And something we talked about early was just like ensuring that like we don't get sucked into that beater game. Tate and I we got sucked in. Devin's our spark plug. He went out there and he sort of reset the play for us, and we were allowed to like come back together, know that we could like play with or without control, but as long as we're like focusing quaffle and making sure our chasers like have those easy looks and we're not getting scored on, then like it doesn't really matter what's happening in the beater game.
Yeah, and I saw you guys had a lengthy discussion after the game. What's it like to have so many strong leadership voices in this Titans program? People who've been there, done that, succeeded at so many levels. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really inspiring to those people to look up to, but I think more than that is like those huddles aren't just like hype fests. They're not just like empty promises and like empty motivational speeches that don't actually mean anything. It's like we get in those huddles and our coaching staff presents us with like really clear-cut goals and ideas and things to like move forward and do as opposed to just like rah-rah.
Awesome. Well, we'll be back soon with Game 3. Tessa Mullins, congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll see you back on the pitch soon.
Quad ball is a sport that integrates aspects from rugby, basketball, and dodgeball to create a fast-paced, mixed-gender game that features 7 players per side. Okay, so quad ball is played on a grass or turf field with 3 hoops of varying heights on each team's half. There's 4 balls in quad ball, 1 quaffle, and 3 bludgers, and the players run with brooms between their legs and must complete all the play while on broom. If a player comes off broom at any point, they have to tag the center hoop on their team's half before opponent's hoops. There are 3 chasers per team, and they wear a white headband, and there's 1 keeper per team, and they wear a green headband. The keeper is only different and they can't be interfered with in their team's keeper zone, which is an area around the hoops when they possess the quaffle. On offense, all 4 players move the quaffle by running and passing and shooting to attempt to score. A good goal can be scored from either side of the hoop, and it's worth 10 points. On defense, players can tackle each other, and we're talking full contact to prevent bludgers, dodgeballs, in attempts to knock out the opposing team's players. Each team has 2 beaters at any given time. A player of any position that is hit by a bludger thrown by the opposing team's beaters must dismount their broom, drop the ball they possess, and tag in on the center hoop scoring. Okay, so seekers, the ones with the yellow headband, pursue the 20-minute timeout, and they leave the game immediately after a good catch has been recorded. The snitch runner is an impartial official whose sole purpose is to prevent the seekers from catching their snitch tail. They can grab, push, wrap, or run away from the seekers to stop them from catching the snitch. The snitch runner comes onto the field after the 20-minute timeout and stays until they are caught. Quad ball is played in two halves. The first consists of a timed 20 minutes, and the second ends only when the set score gets reached. During the first half, the quaffle players and the beaters work together to score goals and stop the other team from scoring goals. When the game clock hits 20 minutes, there's a 2-minute timeout, and that's when the seekers and the snitch runner get introduced. At the same time, they're going to determine the set 60 points. The set score gets indicated on a scoreboard, which will be separate from the game score, and whichever team reaches the set score first, either through only quaffle points or with the addition of that snitch catch, win the game.
Hello and welcome back to our series of the week on Randall's Island in New York City between the New York Titans and the Boston Forge. In game one, it was a quick spurt from Boston, but after that, it was basically all New York. Their press absolutely was tilting Boston. They were owning every inch of the field, and in transition, they were scoring at will. Teddy, you know, we've seen this series go back and forth before. We've seen split series. Do you think Boston has it in them to kind of pull this one back at this point?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the team has it in them for sure. But New York's in the driver's seat right now. It takes two to tango, and I think New York would have to let them have it a little bit. If you're in the New York huddle right now, you make it abundantly clear. You got one game to set your summer up exactly the way that you drew it up. You win this game, you put it away, you're punching your ticket to a prime spot in brackets at MLQ championships in August. So Boston absolutely has it in them. I played with way too many of those guys. There's a lot of winners on that team. You know, even winners I haven't played with, like Taylor Crawford, right? It's about two things. Can you play as a better team? We talked about it at the end of the broadcast. You don't want to be 6 people out there. You don't want to be 4 chasers and 2 beaters. You want to be 6 players as a team. Be connected in the beating game, be connected in the quad ball game, and can you maintain the physicality, right? Anybody can last one round in a fight, but you got knocked back. You couldn't compete with the depth of New York in that instance. Can you come back and match and exceed their physicality again? Because if you come out flat, you might as well start the car ride home now.
Yeah, and, you know, I'd be interested to see what things were discussed in terms of the dodgeball game for Boston, because I thought, you know, the conservative look of Andrews and McCray go with dodgeball control against these New York beaters, and it seemed like the New York beaters were able to just walk off control when that would happen. So it's not really, you know, in Boston's playbook to tell its entire group of beating pairs to all play conservatively like that. It's going to be a completely different beating pair starting for Boston this time. It's going to be Andrew Biddles and Fiona Weishart. Weishart, who did not play in game one. I believe it's the exact same group of quad ball players, though. Taylor Crawford, Peter Lawrence, Tyler Beckman, and Sierra Delk. And on the New York side, starting beaters is going to be Minson and Christian Barnes. Minson probably just in for run-up purposes. Morella, the New York side, once again. We've switched sides. Head ref Chris Lecomte has things ready to go, and we're about to get started in what could be the season series division deciding match here in the East.
Got the lights on. Let's get ready to rumble here.
And we are all go end to end, and Jackson hits the mid-range shot. New York is picking up where they left off in game one, and they're also able to get dodgeball control. The Christian Barnes does get beat out. I'm not sure if the dodgeballs are going to get turned over. So far, they have not. Peter Lawrence has the ball. Frank Minson threw a dodgeball wildly. It's a wild quad ball pass here, though, from Lawrence, goes out of play. I think New York might have benefited there from a late throwback from Barnes that didn't get called because Frank Minson's able to get off the field clean without losing dodgeball control.
Yeah, and going back to the run-up, I love the mind games right there. Jackson, it's been on tape all year. John Jackson winning the run-up, slapping behind to Mike Lee. Taylor Crawford runs right around, and Jackson doesn't fall for it, just picks it up and keeps running. So I like the mind games early.
Morell back to Lee. Lee bobbles. It's a no dodgeball situation. Lee back across to Morella. Morella absorbs the contact, puts it through. 20-0 in a hurry, New York.
Watch out behind you.
Crawford getting pressured by Lee, but not to be. Devin Lee, meanwhile, is running all over the pitch. Has beat Tyler Beckman out of the play already. Has beat Sierra Delk out of the play already. There are no dodgeballs to help. It's only Lawrence and Crawford. Crawford just tries to float one high, hits off the head of Barnes, and just goes to Morella. Dodgeball's just now coming back to Weishart. And again, it's another New York stop. And this Boston quad ball game is not even able to play right now.
Yeah. If Crawford saw that happening and was a little bit unsure of what to do, honestly, go rip one. The point defender was not ready. You'd rather lose one off the end line than lose one live in play like that because that was a dead play from the beginning.
Morella has the ball, has a lean if she wants it. Big hit there on Biddles. Barnes gets control. Meanwhile, the pass goes over to Yanko. Yanko cutting in. Yanko puts it through. Weishart also on the ground. It is going to be dodgeball control once this all gets mediated for Biddles and Weishart, but it's at the cost of 3 goals already.
And both beaters behind the play does not help Forge right now to get connected.
Yeah, it's just them playing scared, right? Like Lee has no dodgeball there, is up against 2 beaters, and still they're hesitating in what they're going to do about him. Finally going to be an actual half-court offense here from Boston. It's a pass to Lawrence. Lawrence cutting in the lane, dodges the beat, misses the shot. I like everything I honestly saw from Boston's offense there, except the shot at the end of it.
Yeah, and Lawrence has one of those in both games so far now, right? And I love the adjustment there from Boston to use the open player in front of hoops.
And it's a mistake there. Suddenly it's basically a transition opportunity that never should have been for New York. Yanko puts it through. Yanko second and his 7th of the series already. And it is a 4-0 absolute domination for the Barnes-Lee line against the Weishart-Biddles line.
Yeah, and the beaters have come out much more aggressive on New York's side. We talked about it a little bit in game 1 about if you're Boston trying to dig yourself out of a hole, that's one area where your beaters can kind of start making the other team play on their back foot, and it's happening against them. Boston's coming out as the nail and not the hammer, and it's not helping.
Collier looking to make a play here on Lee. Crawford and Lawrence just moving the ball around. Finally, it is not going to be a press, though, but it's a pass by Lawrence. It's just picked off by Lee. They want transition here. Lee's considering. Lee slips by Delk. All the dodgeballs are on the ground. Devin Lee is throwing balls at chasers, creating the no-bludger situation. Morella puts it through. 5-0.
Great job by New York, and I know that looks easy. That looks like a bad decision, pick 6. What it really was Boston had something set up on offense. They must have drawn up in between, worked on in practice, whatever. They had a set play going. New York had a counter, and the ball carrier just made a bad decision, threw it away. That was Collier and Delk coming in together off the medium hoop side, looking for a quick timed timber beat. Escura drains one from top of the key.
Much needed from the star from the Boston side. You know, I think what Escura probably saw was the amount of space that was being afforded to Peter Lawrence up above the hoops and said, hey, I'm not going to miss those shots. Finally gets the team on the board, but it's that 5-0 run right out the bat. And, you know, a lot of it has been Lindsay Morella. 2 goals, 2 assists, has been involved with 4 of the goals. Everything except John Jackson's brooms up, basically. Morella now has the ball once again, trying to hit the lane. Morella floats one. Yanko, the one-handed grab. Yanko has to go back up to Jackson. No dodgeballs for a second. Morella has it. Morella back to Jackson. Jackson gets around Crawford. Jackson hits the lane. Jackson dunks high. Might be generous. We'll see what Jack McGovern, if they wants to give the assist on that one to Morella, because it was a lot of work from Jackson after the pass.
I give it to Morella. Morella get a hockey assist on that too. She's the engine that any team would run through. And Jackson just has the perfect play style. You could put John Jackson on any team in the country, any team in the world, and John Jackson would fit in and be effective immediately. He's very adaptable.
Yep. Pass for Jack from Ian Skura behind Taylor Crawford. Taylor Crawford takes the corner. I think that might be a very late throw. I think it's going to be called a turnover. Yeah, it is going to be called a turnover. A really nice long-range beat there Jason Ng is now in alongside Emily Hickmott, and they are once again nursing bloodsher control.
Here at Boston, I'd like to see you mix up the defense just for the sake of novelty here. And as I say that, it looks like a little three trees. That's one thing that New York has been doing did a great job of in game one, right? You play with your identity, but do it in different styles. It puts the offense on their heels and makes it harder for them to get set up and get going.
Yanko, the overlapping play with Minson. Minson gets behind the Lee. Lee does wear a beat. Pass shot goes wide. Yanko, though, able to recover it, keeping that second chance opportunity alive for New York, something you stressed a lot. But, that's something that a Hoops D is not always going to be great at, is stopping those second chance opportunities.
Yep, and if you have to gang tackle, it makes it hard to pick up rebounds. Great job in New York to swing it around to the side and then quickly behind to force rotation.
Great ball movement to spread out this hoop zone in a hurry. It's going to end with Mike Lee trying to go for no dodgeball. Now is going to try to go to Yanko. Yanko, that's finally going to be the turnover. No shortage of opportunities for New York, but can't get to go.
Great fundamentals by Crawford there. If you're a young player trying to play point defense, do what Taylor Crawford just did. Yanko with a great ball fake at trying to drive on no bludgers. Crawford's looking at the hips, doesn't get fooled at all, and is able to stick a hit that leads to a turnover.
Tessa Mullins now in the game for the first time alongside Jason Ng. Skura in the lane. Skura is trying to take a shot. This time it's Leo Freed, though, with the fast hands, paying back Skura for all the quick stops in game one. Olazaba is able to come up with it. Does get beat by Ng. Minson's going to get the ball.
Great hands by Leo Freed. Did react to the first fake, so I don't blame Skura for trying it, but Leo Freed's hands are just too fast.
It is going to be Minson getting beat. Doyle, though, gets beat by Tate K. Cole dodges the dodgeball. Kieran Collier's going to have to get it back into the play. Tate K pressuring high, though. Cole throws one up to nobody in particular, but I think only his dodgeball players are there. So, yeah, it is going to be Minson picking it up.
Good job by Olazaba there to pressure a little bit high. It's not exactly in the scheme of the defense, but it just buys your players more time to get back and get in position.
Minson tries a shot. Ian Skura comes out of absolutely nowhere, and Freed's going to take a hard beat from Collier. I can't believe Skura got in front of that shot. That thing looked wide open. And that is going to be the timeout for Boston, down 6. We can usually go the way it is. Hey, maybe Boston can stabilize. They have stabilized since that early 5-0 run. I don't think a Boston team has ever been put down as hard as this one has early in this game one.
Yep. Hey, and you can either be, whether it's greatness or stupidity. Those are the only two types of teams that can come back from something like this. You either got to be too stupid and think that you're still in it, or you got to be truly great and be able to overcome. On the other side, New York, if you're truly great, you're going to absolutely stomp this team out right now, and you're going to bury them right here on your home field in front of your home fans. Something I'd hate to see, but I root for good Quidditch. And hey, when they play good quad ball, they earned it.
Yeah, and I think two important things have kind of changed. Since Collier's come out on the field, even when their team hasn't been able to get dodgeball control, it seems like they've been able to stay in positions to stop the transitions going back the other way. Yep. They forced New York to play the half court. And like we said, New York's been good in the half court. They haven't been, excellent, astounding in the half court. Yep. And what's also allowed that is that Skura's been able to find some pretty simple opportunities that haven't led to the team getting into bad situations with presses. Yes, Leo Freed gets a hand on that last one, but it and the shot before it were both good scoring opportunities. Ones I'd be happy to have Ian Skura take every single ball out of the play for now. Carson Olazaba is going to get hit by Minson. I think there's going to be a foul on the play.
New York came out in the triangle and won there.
One of many players that has graduated from the NYU program on this New York squad is headed to the box, Frank Minson. Minson in his second year of coaching really picked up what was a very young team, a very transitional team. Obviously, a lot of the stars of this team, players like John Jackson, Lindsey Morel, have been with it for a very long time. But, picking up all of these younger players, the Leo Freeds, the Jason Ings, and kind of incorporating them all into a completely different style of quad ball than I think the New York program had played before it. Obviously, a lot to speak to what Minson's been able to do in just a year and a half, basically. Meanwhile, Tate K is trying another press attempt. Finally, Boston's able to spread things out and dodge the presses. Skura, though, now is going to be in a tough spot. But again, it's Olazaba getting back to Skura. Really nicely done. That might even be dodgeball control. Skura's in the lane. It's Lindsey Morel going flying through to knock it down. I think if you're going to take that, I would have liked to see maybe a hard shot instead of a floater, but not to be. All the dodgeballs are on the ground. Will Andrews wins dodgeball control. Absolutely huge. Meanwhile, Morel is still just dancing around back behind the hoops, finally gets it to the keeper and calms that play down.
Good play by Andrews. Andrews has been really close on a couple of instances of really blowing this up. Another young beater on the field right now for both of these teams. And again, was really close to completely blowing that play up and winning a goal out of nowhere, and just at the end loses a dodgeball out of bounds, and now all of a sudden you got to play defense and you don't have control.
Yeah, Will Andrews out of Michigan, but has been a contributor for this team now for 2 years. Freed is the ball on top. The penalty has officially been killed, so I think New York can stop being patient. But Kolshnol Nzaba is going to force the issue. A big wrap on Freed.
Well done.
Oh, trying to get over the hard boundary, and does. And, you know, that is just, we've talked about how the New York beaters and chasers have been more in sync than the Boston beaters and chasers. And what was so important there is that Tate K was not ready for the tap beat.
Tough situation right now, though, because he's ready for this one.
Not a ton of passing options
Throw
either.
it away, yep.
Oh, Zach Doyle might be the first one down the field. Zach Doyle has the ball. Doyle trying to get by Freed. Shot goes off the tee, but great idea, and really almost a goal out of nothing for Boston.
Great transition defense from New York right there to make that a shot and not a dunk. Excellent job by the Titans.
Oliver eats a big hit there from Olazaba, but gets the ball off to Cole. Really nicely done. Freed grabs one of midair, but just gets tackled again. Oh, and great hands by Avery Oliver. Going to go down hard at the end of the play, but just wins the loose ball basically off of Ian Skirns, able to slip it through the hoop.
Way to stay with it from Oliver. Again, Boston it's not for the lack of effort right there. Athena Mayer laying the wood on that hit right there, but Oliver, too strong, puts it through.
Yeah, Oliver played for Team India at the World Cup last week, a big contributor there. Had the game-winning goal in what was a next goal win scenario against Austria, I believe, India, coming off of what was a very enjoyable World Cup down in Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah, and that's what makes this, again, the perfect setting for a series like this. I mean, it's awesome for the sport to have this collection of players here in this atmosphere for a series of this magnitude. So just great job by the league to set this up this way, and well done promoting it as well.
Oh, thanks, Teddy. Carson Olazaba has the ball up top. Skura has it in the lane. Skura just trying to rip shots now, and Freed again has the answer. Gets chased into the corner. Doyle does have it. Doyle stays in bounds. Doyle finds Olazaba. Shot goes wide. Oh, Doyle's just going to dodge a beat. Doyle's going to be in the lane here. Doyle across to Skura. Skura's going to have to make this one count. Finally does through the far hoop. A broken play, but hey, we haven't seen a lot of second chance opportunities for Boston. They get a big one there.
Yeah, well done. A heck of a play by Doyle. Absolutely working his tail off, tiptoeing the sideline, makes the pass, gets the offensive rebound, makes one more pass, and Skura, I mean, just like in the NBA, right, those second chance threes always go in. A good shooter like that's not going to miss two.
Freed bringing the ball up now. Freed in the old Tony Rodriguez tuck there with the quad ball. Just tries to throw the pass to no one, but Skura can't get there. And that's just how dominant these beaters have been from New York, that they're the ones just beating the players right off the hoops, but pass goes awry. Things getting a little sloppier here from New York.
Yeah.
Will Andrews makes a big play there. It is going to be dodgeball control. Really nice shift here from Will Andrews in the middle of this one.
You'd like to see Boston play with a little pace right now while New York's scrambling. They're still trying to get into their set, and Boston just bailed them out by walking it up.
Yeah, New York doesn't even seem to be completely clear on what defense they're calling. I think they're finally settling into the triangle and one, or maybe a mark. But again, Boston's doing nothing to push the pace.
Triangle and one, and whoever's marking Steinberg over there is giving him a real hard time. Excellent defense.
Greenhouse tries the shot, just gets knocked down easily. Leo Freed looking to run in transition, is going to have to slow it down. Vinny Chico makes a big beat. Aaron McCready does a beautiful job of, I think, keeping dodgeball control. No, they are going to lose it. It's going to be a no dodgeball situation, but Oliver goes high with the shot.
I don't hate the shot in that situation. Active. Wasn't really a covered hoop either. I don't hate it.
Biddles and Montero now into the game, but not with dodgeball control. Greg Bento, I believe, taking his first minutes at chaser of the series, did play seeker in the last game.
Yep.
Tom DeMuth does not want any more shots here from Harry Greenhouse after the last possession.
What you want as a head coach is you want rhythm shots.
Oh, no dodgeball. Big beat there by Biddles. Oh, Steinberg goes high, tries the two-handed chuck down, but the T says no for a second time in a few possessions for Boston.
And if you're the coach, you're the sideline of Boston right now, you make it clear you're in a 7-2 game, but you've had 3 balls off the tee and 1 great save by Leo Freed. This is not last game. You're very much still in this.
John Jackson misses a shot there. I think it is. Oh, it's called New York ball. Can they get the reset clean, though? Yeah, they will be able to.
Good job by Situ of opening that reset up to Jackson.
Montero and Biddle's able to keep dodgeball control. A nice play there by Montero to do so. Meanwhile, the ball's on the far side. Oh, arbitrating, trying to get through. It's a true team tackle, but arbitrating still had a free arm. I think the shot goes wide, but that is a.
You can't feel a dodgeball.
Yep. Boston though tries to go in transition, not to be. Now Hagag tries to go in transition, also not to be. Steinberg, I'm not even sure what is happening in this game right now. Steinberg's now hitting the lane. That beat goes wide. Steinberg's bouncing off people, rolls off of Molly Potter, gets the ball to Bertram.
Smart decision by Steinberg there to calm himself down a little bit. We let the refs decide what's going on while we catch our breath.
Yeah, I think there might be a call going against Boston in the dodgeball game. But yeah, it is going to be third dodgeball interference, so it is just going to be the turnover. But we've talked about how important that's been in the series, how hard it's been at times for Boston to get it back.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at the positioning of the beaters right now. Situ has Biddles in a lock right now. If you're the Titans, you let Emily Hickmont run free, and if you're John Jackson, you make sure that you hit Harry Greenhouse and make him pass this ball right now. Go fly out and play free safety everybody else.
Yeah, and if you're Harry Greenhouse, I think you have to run to the back corner, back behind the hoops.
Yeah. Go, get away from this corner, which is no longer safe grounds, and make John.
Greenhouse just playing a two-player game in the corner as Emily Hickmott steps out, goes up to Bertram. Bertram doesn't have a blot there. Chico missed beat. It is going to be dodgeball control right back to Boston off that. Nicely done. Steinberg floats either a pass or a shot. Hard to say, but Greg Bento can't track it down.
I think that's a pass, and that's a tough pass. There's no angle, right? Every sport, basketball, soccer, anytime you're trying to throw a pass, that's
how long Boston's willing to wait on trying to get its top line in, because we just haven't seen that scoring threat necessarily without it. Oh, a really nice play by Biddles on Lee. Oh, but Andrew Steinberg can't stop the basically just desperation shot. New York gets the goal anyway. It's 8-2. It is going to be no dodgeballs. Greg Bento's in the lane. Bento gets beat. Pass gets knocked down by Jackson. It is picked up by Bertram. I think that might be a late pass by Greenhouse. No, he's allowed to get away with it. Steinberg's just going to slow things down.
What is John Jackson's wingspan? My goodness. That man could take flight. It's true. It's insane what you think is open around the hoops. Down.
He's wearing a hat too. 3 goals already in this one. Patience here from Boston finally. Steinberg and Bertram just working it around. But, what's the idea? That's the question. What are we setting up here? It looks like we're setting up something on the near hoop. That's where Collier is. Potter's not giving him the easy tap beat. Bertram just goes right in. Oh, called beat before.
I like it from Mo.
Yeah. I like the ideas,
Mo's always looking to dunk on somebody. What I don't like is what's going on behind the hoops.
Yeah.
It's not even hard for Mo Hagag to guard Harry Greenhouse in that situation because Harry is accepting his fate as being locked down. And that comes from the effort, comes from the rest of the pace of play. Everybody's tired. It's not easy to play this game. But you can't make it easy on the defense. You force Mo Hagag to be constantly trying to switch onto somebody. I like that Boston's taking better care of the ball.
Definitely how quickly he plays now. Sometimes that ends up with, him getting tired towards the end of a shift, but a really nice play by Montero. Meanwhile, Steinberg gets hit hard by John Jackson. John Jackson trying to claim shoulder. I don't think that Chris Lecomte's particularly interested in that.
No. Chris Lecomte, a great ref, knows the rule book well, sticks to his gun. Loud conversations with him on the field, all the respect in the world for him.
Yeah, and these two games are interesting, right? I think the last game ended up with a final score that was closer than the game felt. And this game has felt felt the opposite. It feels like that Boston should be a little bit closer, but, things have gone awry. New York's been more or less stymied on the offensive end for quite some time at this point.
Yep, and it comes from, Boston, again, isn't necessarily doing plan A very well, which is don't turn the ball over, but they're doing a much better job on plan B, which is don't turn the ball over in a bad spot.
For sure, and better job from their beaters. We talked about, Montero, I think, just came off a good shift subbing out. Will Andrews had a good shift earlier in this game. Yep. Just a little bit more hanging in there. It's definitely been a little less dominant from the beaters of New York, and hey, it's 8-3. This is still a ball game.
Yeah, 8-3 could be 8-6, right? That's one of those things you tell your team to rally around. Obviously, they don't count almost. This isn't horseshoes, but something to keep the morale up, keep the energy up, so that you can keep fighting. All you can do is try to win one possession at a time.
Yep. Greenhouse does get knocked out trying to tail Jackson around. It's a mark look now from Boston for the first time. Completely different. We're going to see how John tries to attack it. Jackson goes around the line, does get the ball wide to Potter. Potter back to Jackson. Suddenly it's back to hoop zone here from Boston. It is going to be dodgeball control, though, going back over to the side of New York.
I absolutely love switching it up. Kind of wish Tom DeMuth pulled this card earlier, but hey, better late than never. You get some time and some more opportunities to get stops just by causing confusion. Novelty alone will get you a couple of stops.
Jackson gets it over the top to Gog. Oh no, Leanne Dillman's beat just knocks off the back of Steinberg. Like it's going to Luis Mendoza into the lane, but Mo Bertram makes a big hit. Ball goes over to Bolly Potter. Potter tries to get it. Andrew Steinberg makes up for the block mistake before with a big stop, and Bertram is able to keep it in the field of play. Another big stop from Boston. They are creeping their way back into this game.
That's a hustle right there. And hey, like this isn't baseball. You can't hit a 5-run home run. I guess you could pull a flag, but not yet. All you can do is get one goal at a time. And again, one of the things we talked about pregame and before the first series, if you're New York, yeah, you want to impose your will, you want to play hard, but as Boston sits on control and controls their turnovers so that they're in a good spot and plays better with their beaters, you can't get out and run. So you got to be patient. You got to make sure that you just win one goal at a time. And so far, Boston has done a good job in these last 3 minutes of being the better team in that instance.
And just to clarify for our international audience, you also can't hit a 5-run home run in baseball. But as I'm saying that, once again, lazy passing at midfield. And it's going to be Boston in this series. It's probably been largely the margin in the quad ball game over the course of these games.
I like this. The layup dislodgement might be the most but at least the way that he did it is trying to get some juice back on his team's side, steady the times and say, hey, we're the big brother right now. We're gonna noogie this team in Boston.
Be Boston playing up a player, but against dodgeball control. Dillman just trying to work it down, but our quad ball players, and this is a time I really want to see Boston's quad ball players working with their beaters, because this is where all the options can't be covered, so it should not be hard. Mike Lee's out of the box.
Good hands by the Titans defenders all game. They play with extremely active hands. Like if you're looking to teach a mark defense or any defense, you look at the fundamentals of these New York teams.
Last few seconds here before the 20-minute mark. Lawrence being patient, Jackson stepping high. Dillman loses an exchange with Barnes. Collier needs to get back into the play. Taylor Crawford first to take the reset, and once again, it's at the 20-minute mark. New York stepping in with authority, getting the stop, getting the balls going the right way. Might be a little conversation, but I think the refs are just going to call it 20-minute timeout.
Those two turnovers are absolute backbreakers. They're not taking full advantage of what New York's giving them, and New York has been doing an excellent job of switching up the defense. In a league where you only get one timeout, New York has had absolutely every answer and the next one ready to go. So they're making it very tough for Boston. It has to adjust on the fly, and it's certainly not easy. But so again, you're not going to score every time. The times you don't score, you can't be turning over at half like this. And Boston, who was looking to build some momentum for about 5 minutes towards the end of that 20-minute period right there, to lose 2 over the midline is absolutely backbreaking.
Yeah, and we've said it repeatedly, like it's not that New York is scoring every single time they go down the field, in the half court or anything like that, but it's really hard to pinpoint like a glaring mistake that New York made in the offensive half. Not that they're scoring every time.
Absolutely.
And you can.
The talent is what it is. I don't think it's as big of a disparity, even if Boston might have fewer household names. Maybe it's my bias from having known these players playing with Pandas. These players can play with them, but New York is better prepared and better composed right now, and that has been all the difference in this series so far.
Yeah, I mean, credit to Minson and his staff. I mean, Minson, a playing coach, not an easy thing to be. Gets obviously a big hand from Naresh Adala on the sidelines as a non-playing assistant coach.
Yep.
But, I mean, all that said, still only a 60-point margin in this game. And I think it's going to be a tough hill for Boston to climb, but we saw them catch once already. Tremple's getting the start in this game, had the catch in the first game.
Yep. Yeah, it's not insurmountable. Obviously it's easier to win a game you don't dig yourself a hole in, right? Curious to see what the dodgeball decisions look like in this game with the pace having been a little lower, the score being a little lower right now. I wonder if there's any effort to keep Boston off the snitch here. Yeah,
and so Tremple starting for Boston, Mohagog starting for New York. Mohagog having the about the biggest catch in New York other than, in the U.S. other than Harry Greenhouse's against Belgium. As we're continuing play, though, here, fast break going the other way. Jackson can't find, I believe that's Annika Kim, but she is able to get it back to Lindsay Morella. Both seekers just going at it. They seem to, no, now it's going to be Mohagog trying to box out Tremple.
That's a tough spot for Morella right there. Went over half after accidental having the snitch, the flag runner run into her. Now I know what that rule is. that's a tough situation.
I mean, the flag runner always gets right of way. You just have to dodge flag runners.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Hey, so, that's how the cookie crumbles.
Peter Lawrence walking the ball down. It's semi-no dodgeballs here. Tate K doesn't seem that interested in Lawrence.
Run a ball screen to the edge here, something like that. Put Mike Lee in rotation so he can't just wait to make a huge hit.
It's going to be Lawrence just walking almost too easily in.
Well done.
I think it's a tough one in what was, I would say, at least a slightly contested situation.
I count 1, 2, 3, 4 quad ball eligible players in the zone.
Yep.
He's been a little tight with the rules, but he's been on both sides.
You can definitely say there were at least 4 New York defenders closer to Lawrence than anybody was to Lee on the card earlier.
Certainly, right.
Hagag is getting some time here with the snitch. John Jackson is just patiently bringing it up. Steve Tremple's getting back into it. As Mohagog tries to go around, John Jackson hits right through the lane. No problem there. Puts it through around Annalisa Nikolai.
Not to get too into the weeds here on footwork and technique, there was a ball screen attempt from Crawford during flag runner on pitch in the first game. That was basically a complete whiff. That screen from Morella for Jackson to open that up was perfectly set. Doesn't have to be hard or a lot of contact, but makes the defender lose a step.
And just unforced error there. Peter Lawrence can't handle what was a pretty light pass there from Taylor Crawford. Ball hits the ground, and it's a turnover. So far, 1-1 in the quad ball game with nobody yet making a play on our snitch, even though our snitch is not getting much help from beaters.
I will say, yeah, Mullins and Kay, based on the position, have been able to set up a little bit of a bubble while being kind of near the offense, so doing their best to play a little of both here with control.
McCready heads up play there to at least force the turnover and it is going to be New York ball when all is said and done. McCready coming back into the game, clearing out Hickmott with the only dodgeball that currently belongs to Boston.
Yeah, if you're Boston here, you want to make sure that the communication is strong. They're giving you time to make sure you're set up, get on your P's and Q's, know who's who in the zoo, and look to be physical.
Jason Ng trying to get in tight on our flag runner, Mikhail, as the ball goes behind to Morella.
Around the flag runner right now.
Well, it definitely seems like Boston's beaters are choosing to play the quad ball in the half court, but they need to be more and more aggressive and press if that's going to be their game plan.
Yep.
Big hit there by Nikolai. It's going to be a pile. Checking here. John Jackson trying to get the ball. Tessa Mullins makes a beat on Olazaba. Then he's going to make a beat on Nikolai. I think it is going to cost Mullins dodgeball control. Jackson down.
Trainer coming out. Hopefully just a cramp.
Yeah, obviously some contact. But, yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting period so far. It feels like Boston is really relying on this flag runner to keep it up for them. And to their credit, it's worked so far. But, again, if New York's going to be setting up a bubble and you're going to be keeping your beater in the quad ball game, that beater has to be pressing.
Yeah,
you don't have a choice. You can't just be patient.
It's a dangerous game to play. You know, a flag runner can be your best friend. A flag runner can be your worst enemy. They're never trying to be either. It's a lot of trust to put on your defensive seekers. I know Boston has great ability to defensive seek. Yeah, it's kind of to weaponize your beaters to go get turnovers. Boston runs well when they get turnovers, but it hasn't really shown so far this season that they're being intentional about creating them. And I think that's showing right now where they're playing to their identity to get stops. They're not playing to their identity to get goals as fast as possible. We'll see how long it's able to work out for them.
Well, Leo Fried's actually going to be a really tricky spot here because one of his options is standing right next to him. Athena Mayer is near Lindsay Morella. And Willie Andrews is going to be able to press immediately. And both Tate K and Tessa Mullins are currently on Broom. So I think Mike Lee might be an option down past the Boston bench that I can see. But that's kind of, I think, all that Leo Freed has his options.
Athena Mayer needs to make sure that she overplays Lindsay Morella coming to the ball. If you get beat backdoor in this situation, you have bodies and a beater at hoops. Backdoor does not hurt you as long as it's not a perfectly completed ball dive in the way of this ball if they choose to make the short pass. Because it also beats you off the dribbles, don't let them catch it.
Lengthy discussion here about whether Will Andrews gets a dodgeball or not. Seems like it's going to be on the ground right next to him.
That 1 second could be huge.
I think Freed might be, no, he's just going to walk the tightrope. Oh, and Will Andrews kind of seems to have maybe messed up the inbounds or maybe done it correctly. Either way, it's a big hit on Leo Freed. Turnover forced. No dodgeballs if Ian Skura sees it here. Tate K makes a big block, but just kind of gives it back to Andrews there. Skura is trying to hit the lane. Skura just needs a screen or something. Gets one from Mayer. Goes near side. Oh, and puts it through. Even if he didn't, Carson Olazaba smartly knows to follow it up.
Yeah, and I think that was a little tiny no-look bounce pass from Kay to Mullins on that after the block.
And finally, some free time for Tyler Beckman. A catch would really make things interesting here in game 2. Does come off Broom, is going to have to sub.
Flag runner's doing an excellent job of moving their feet. That was close. If I'm Mo Hagag, I'm a little bit upset that the flag runner went down on that.
Yeah, but when you charge all your body weight into him, it's definitely risking that more. As Avery Oliver throws a beautiful dime to Lindsay Morella.
Great cut by Morella, and there's the pull by Hagag. You knew it was coming.
But there is a call in the dodgeball game, and if it's against Devin Lee.
And it's funny, we talked about out of specifically that one restart where the players were about Mayer, you better overplay on Morella. A backdoor doesn't hurt you. Well, from the top of the keeper zone, a backdoor absolutely hurts you because that pass is going to be completed. So that's one where the scoring situation can sometimes change the way you enforce your fundamentals. Great cut by Morella on that one, and a great pass for the assist. Absolute dime.
Lots to talk about for the ref crew here, but I think Chris Lecomp's about to explain it all. First of all, they have to discuss the catch, whether it's good. Then they also have to discuss the foul. I think there might be. Sorry, I'm just trying to listen to if Chris Lecomp has anything else to say. No, it's just going to be a good catch, and all New York needs is one goal to put away the division to secure their second ever East Division title.
And this is where you start to see what your team is made out of, right? Like, so no matter what, neither of these teams' season is over right here. But do you have something to build on? What kind of mental resolve does your team have? What kind of character does your team have? You never forget any of your losses, I think, as a player. One thing I'll remember in the 2021 MLQ semifinals against Austin was the way that we fought back after that game was over and made them earn it from us is something I'll always be proud of in a losing effort, and it's something you'd like to see from Boston here.
But I think it might just be a quick transition opportunity to end it here. Freed is flying down the pitch. Freed dodges McCrady's beat. Freed dodges a flying Ian Skura. Freed secures the division title for the New York Titans. We just need to wait for one final whistle.
Put it on a poster. Leo Freed says the division's coming back to New York.
Leo Freed, the Boston-trained player, the product of so many coaches in the Boston area, putting the knife in the back of the forge and putting the New York Titans up to 11-0 and for the second time ever, champions of the East Division.
Got away from them in terms of what they wanted to do and imposing their will for a little bit, but what great teams do is they don't let that stop them. It was 2 minutes of not playing to as well as they wanted to, and they were able to come back, execute, make adjustments, and bring home the division that one.
50 for a split second there with Tyler Beckman engaging with the flag runner with a chance to get the game back within 2, and then 2 seconds later, basically a 45-point play from New York, and the series was basically over.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the way things crumble. That's kind of the knife's edge that Boston chose to run on in that flag runner on pitch situation. And I mean, hey, that's what being at a deficit's going to give you. But hey, Boston's still got a lot to play for here. See in the East Division, I'm sure they still want to go undefeated, so I don't think they're going to give in. But for Boston, there's a lot of scenarios still left in this East Division where getting one win off of New York could mean a lot. So you know this team is going to come out. And plus, this team has something to prove. This team has never been swept in these divisions. So it'll be interesting to see what they have.
Absolutely. And there's no love lost here. There's there's absolutely no love lost here. And this team has everything to play for. You can still make a run deep in MLQ championships not winning your division. This is one of the harder divisions in quad ball, this one and Austin's division as well. So I'll be curious to see what kind of adjustments come out. We saw 2 different defenses, for kind of a cup of coffee a little bit in that game. We'll see if Boston's willing to pull out all the stops or if they want to save the tape.
All right, so that's going to do it for us in here in Game 2. I think Jack McGovern's going to grab us another interview, so we'll be back with him and a player in just a few seconds, and we'll be back in a little bit after that for Game 3. New York Titans, East Division champions, but looking to go first sweep here in about 20 minutes.
Quad ball is a sport that integrates aspects from rugby, basketball, and dodgeball to create a fast-paced, mixed-gender game that features 7 players per side. Okay, so quad ball is played on a grass or turf field with 3 hoops of varying heights on each team's half. There's 4 balls in quad ball, 1 quaffle, and 3 bludgers, and the players run with brooms between their legs and must complete all the play while on broom. If a player comes off broom at any point, they have to tag the center hoop on their team's half before resuming play. Alright, so there's a lot of different positions. The first 2 are chasers and keepers, known together as quaffle players. They use the quaffle, a slightly deflated volleyball, to try to score through their opponent's hoops. There are 3 chasers per team, and they wear a white headband, and there's 1 keeper per team, and they wear a green headband. The keeper is only different in they can't be interfered with in their team's keeper zone, which is an area around the hoops when they possess the quaffle. On offense, all 4 players move the quaffle by running and passing and shooting to attempt to score. A good goal can be scored from either side of the hoop, and it's worth 10 points. On defense, players can tackle each other, and we're talking full contact to prevent the other team from scoring. Beaters, distinguished by black headbands, use the bludgers, dodgeballs, in attempts to knock out the opposing team's players. Each team has 2 beaters at any given time. A player.
Hello and welcome back to Randall's Island. Jack McGovern here with Lindsay Morella. Lindsay, congratulations. You guys just clinched the 2023 East Division title. How does it feel?
I feel super good. I mean, we're not done yet, so I don't feel joy quite yet. But no, I mean, that feels like every win feels great. To have won the division is just another thing that we are looking for this season, so it's good that that's checked off. But we want to be 12-0. Obviously, we want to take all 3. I don't think that we've ever done that. Well, yeah, we definitely haven't because I know that we've never been 12-0. So yeah, I'm trying to still stay focused on the last game, but it feels good. It feels comfy.
Yeah, first division title since 2021. What has made this season's team like that?
I just feel like we're more comfortable with each other. In 2021 team, since kind of like forever at that point. So we're really comfortable. We knew how we were playing. Last year we went into it a little bit as like a rebuilding season, just because we lost some pieces. We also had a lot of new people, so it wasn't necessarily like stuff like that. So it was a little bit of a rebuild, just like getting more comfortable. And I think that we're there, like we're comfortable. So I think that's the biggest difference.
Awesome. Yeah, you kind of break down the defense.
Honestly, I think we struggled more on offense in the first game. I think either Boston was just doing a better job like setting up in a way that we were struggling against, or our beaters just did better. Because I feel like walking in as like a chaser, it just felt more broken down. Like we had more fast breaks, we had more cut opportunities than in the first game. So that's what I saw. Yeah,
you could see it, that 5-0 run. And last question, then I'll let you go. Talk to me about what your beaters are doing for you guys out there right now.
I mean, they know Boston's beaters very well. I think that's like most of it.
Yeah.
And then Devin Lee's an absolute god. So I don't super know what anyone could do against that. He's just incredible. So, yeah.
Well said. Thank you, Lindsay, for your time. And we'll be back soon for Game 3.
Yes, Game 3.
Quad ball is a sport that integrates aspects from rugby, basketball, and dodgeball to create a fast-paced, mixed-gender game that features 7 players per side. Okay, so quad ball is played on a grass or turf field with 3 hoops of varying heights on each team's half. There's 4 balls in quad ball, 1 quaffle, and 3 bludgers, and the players run with brooms between their legs and must complete all the play while on broom. If a player comes off broom at any point, they have to tag the center hoop on their team's half before resuming play. Alright, so there's a lot of different positions. The first 2 are chasers and keepers, known together as quaffle players. They use the quaffle, a slightly deflated volleyball, to try to score through their opponent's hoops. There are 3 chasers per team, and they wear a white headband, and there's 1 keeper per team, and they wear a green headband. The keeper is only different in they can't be interfered with in their team's keeper zone, which is an area around the hoops when they possess the quaffle. On offense, all 4 players move the quaffle by running and passing and shooting to attempt to score. A good goal can be scored from either side of the hoop, and it's worth 10 points. On defense, players can tackle each other, and we're talking full contact to prevent the other team from scoring. Beaters, distinguished by black headbands, use the bludgers, dodgeballs, in attempts to knock out the opposing team's players. Each team has 2 beaters at any given time. A player of any position that is hit by a bludger thrown by the opposing team's beaters must dismount their broom, drop the ball they possess, and tag in on the center hoop before they can rejoin play. Beaters help their quaffle players on offense to clear paths to score, as well as work to stop opposing teams from scoring. Okay, so seekers, the ones with the yellow headband, pursue the snitch runner in an attempt to grab that snitch tail from their shorts, kind of like flag football, in order to earn 35 points for their team. They don't enter the game until after the 20-minute timeout, and they leave the game immediately after a good catch has been recorded. The snitch runner is an impartial official whose sole purpose is to prevent the seekers from catching their snitch tail. They can grab, push, wrap, or run away from the seekers to stop them from catching the snitch. The snitch runner comes onto the field after the 20-minute timeout and stays until they are caught. Quad ball is played in 2 halves. The first consists of a timed 20 minutes, and the second ends only when the set score gets reached. During the first half, the quaffle players and the beaters work together to score goals and stop the other team from scoring goals. When the game clock hits 20 minutes, there's a 2-minute timeout, and that's when the seekers and the snitch runner get introduced. At the same time, they're going to determine the set score. It's determined by taking the total of the leading team's score and adding 60 points. The set score gets indicated on a scoreboard, which will be separate from the game score, and whichever team reaches the set score first, either through only quaffle points or with the addition of that snitch catch, win the game. Quad ball is a sport that integrates aspects from rugby, basketball, and dodgeball to create a fast-paced, mixed-gender game that features 7 players per side. Okay, so quad ball is played on a grass or turf field with 3 hoops of varying heights on each team's half. There's 4 balls in quad ball, 1 quaffle, and 3 bludgers, and the players run with brooms between their legs and must complete all the play while on broom. If a player comes off broom at any point, they have to tag the center hoop on their team's half before resuming play. Alright, so there's a lot of different positions. The first 2 are chasers and keepers, known together as quaffle players. They use the quaffle, a slightly deflated volleyball, to try to score through their opponent's hoops. There are 3 chasers per team, and they wear a white headband, and there's 1 keeper per team, and they wear a green headband. The keeper is only different in they can't be interfered with in their team's keeper zone, which is an area around the hoops when they possess the quaffle. On offense, all 4 players move the quaffle by running and passing and shooting to attempt to score. A good goal can be scored from either side of the hoop, and it's worth 10 points. On defense, players can tackle each other, and we're talking full contact to prevent the other team from scoring. Beaters, distinguished by black headbands, use the bludgers, dodgeballs, in attempts to knock out the opposing team's players. Each team has 2 beaters at any given time. A player of any position that is hit by a bludger thrown by the opposing team's beaters must dismount their broom, drop the ball they possess, and tag in on the center hoop before they can rejoin play. Beaters help their quaffle players on offense to clear paths to score, as well as work to stop opposing teams from scoring. Okay, so seekers, the ones with the yellow headband, pursue the snitch runner in an attempt to grab that snitch tail from their shorts, kind of like flag football, in order to earn 35 points for their team. They don't enter the game until after the 20-minute timeout, and they leave the game immediately after a good catch has been recorded. The snitch runner is an impartial official whose sole purpose is to prevent the seekers from catching their snitch tail. They can grab, push, wrap, or run away from the seekers to stop them from catching the snitch. The snitch runner comes onto the field after the 20-minute timeout and stays until they are caught. Quad ball is played in 2 halves. The first consists of a timed 20 minutes, and the second ends only when the set score gets reached. During the first half, the quaffle players and the beaters work together to when the game clock hits 20 minutes, there's a 2-minute timeout, and that's when the seekers and the snitch runner get introduced. At the same time, they're going to determine the set score. It's determined by taking the total of the leading team's score and adding 60 points. The set score gets indicated on a scoreboard, which will be separate from the game score, and whichever team reaches the set score first, either through only quaffle points or with the addition of that snitch catch, win the game.
Hello and welcome back to the final game of our series of the week between the New York Titans and the Boston Forge. The Titans have taken the series 2-0 already, swept the Boston Forge in a regular season series. That is what they are on the precipice of facing here. And second of all, when things are going to settle with Washington still in the picture for the second place, it still could matter to get this win for their standings. So a lot pretty loose, and that could spell trouble for a Boston team that struggled to deal with just how loose New York's been.
Yeah, absolutely. And you say this game could still matter, right? If you're a player or coach approaching this game from the Boston side, you treat it like it matters because you sure don't want to find out later whether or not it matters if you win this game, right? It's one of those, if you take care of it, if you have it, you don't need it, right? And so that's something that you make abundantly clear. I actually walked down by the Boston huddle, just to eavesdrop as a good reporter would. And before Tom DeMuth even got in there, veteran leader Harry Greenhouse was very vocal, being a leader in that huddle about playing for the logo on the front of your jersey as well as for the name on your back. You got too much pride at stake, and everybody on that team deserves to be here. Something that you love to hear from a leader. And again, the effort has not been the problem. It's been the execution. So if that effort can translate into mental focus and better execution of the fundamentals to give them something to carry through going forward, help them secure their standings as they approach MLQ championships, then
step up for Boston. A lot of the issue has been on the offensive end. I don't think the defense has been bad. You could say that at times they haven't been as physical as New York, but I'd say the hits have generally been there. They've gotten a lot of half-court stops. It's both A, the lack of ideas when they can set up an offense, and B, their inability to set up an offense in the face of the New York press.
It's funny. You always talk about, offense starts with defense. It goes both ways. And in this case, I think it really is an instance of Boston, your defense starts on offense and what the end of your possession looks like. Are you giving up live ball turnovers? Are you giving up turnovers at half? And are you giving yourself a chance to score? When you score versus when you pull one off the hoops, I don't care how well trained you are as a player, as the person picking up that ball, you're typically a little bit more deflated unless it's running all the way back towards half for you to pick up and go with. And just the difference between scoring and not scoring really can have a major impact on the pace and therefore the score of the game. So absolutely, I think you hit the nail on the head there. And from the New York side, you're out for blood in this game. You're absolutely, like I said before, you want to bury them on their home field. Well, now you want to have a celebration of life if you're in New York, and you want to celebrate right on top of them. As a player, there's nothing better than that. That's the best part of competing, and it's absolutely what you would push for as a coach.
Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting to see how Frank Minson will play this, because so much of this rebuild from the Frank Minson era in New York has been built around focusing on getting everyone minutes, developing all your young talent. And, last year when they came into Boston, they lost. They were committed to playing their entire roster in every single game, even when Boston started getting the upper hand. And I think we're seeing a little bit of that, because starting this game in the green headband is actually going to be Luis Mendoza, one of the younger players on the team, a product of the Rutgers program. And I think that, if this is what Frank Minson is dedicated to doing, he's going to see it through, undefeated season be damned. They earned that number 1 seed. Technically, this game, again, it is about pride, but doesn't have a tangible benefit for the New York Titans.
Yeah. What they did last season and committing to their players, in addition to how prepared they've been, they've clearly been all the way down to the practice squad, which I saw after the Boston-Ottawa game. Like, they have everybody ready, and they can absolutely win this game, dominate this game while playing everybody. And Luis Mendoza's been a new player on my radar. Glad to see him contributing. Extremely shifty, extremely strong. No slouch at starting keeper.
Yeah, the rest of the starting lineup in the quad ball game for New York is Lindsey Morella, Yanko, and John Jackson. Christian Barnes and Frank Minson are going to be starting beaters up against Will Andrews and Fiona Weishart. Taylor Crawford's running with John Jackson. Crawford makes no mistake of overrunning Jackson this time. It is going to be New York ball, though, and it's also going to be New York dodgeballs. Yanko goes around the corner, just flings it back to Jackson. Jackson gets it across to Mendoza. Mendoza answering the call right away. It is next player up here in New York, 10-0.
I think we just Beetlejuiced the goal right there. Congrats to Mendoza. Great way to start off. I love what New York does on the jump. They get a tap beat really early, so now all of a sudden you're already playing in rotation, and that's something that I was always weary of. If I didn't think we were going to win the run-up at midfield, I'd be happy to just lay off and play a stagnant defense. As long as you don't give up the first goal, then the first possession doesn't matter. Obviously it does there for Boston.
Andrews has the only dodgeball for Boston, now teamed up with Aaron McCready, who just didn't run the brooms up. Beckman and Lawrence are patient. Crawford's all the way behind. Kind of the heavy hitter line again from the Forge, but the issue with this line has sometimes been the offensive end. We'll see what they can muster. Luis Mendoza running around the pitch.
Emerson zone from a little bit from New York. Crawford with a big push on the middle. The wheels are turning upstairs. Let's see if the light's on.
Delk has the ball on the far side. Lee finally going to press up because he did get rid of McCready first. All the dodgeballs are on the ground, but the pass goes across to Beckman. Beckman's shot denied by Jackson, and there's going to be an opportunity to run. McCready now has a ball. I think Yanko does see her. She just takes the exchange for dodgeball control, and it's Peter Lawrence, the big hit, and Taylor Crawford coming up on top. Erin McCready making the play there to trust her quad ball players, knowing how important control is, and her quad ball players step up.
Yeah, well done there. Good. You make sure you don't get out physical. That worked.
Yeah. It doesn't end up with McCready able to win dodgeball control, so there will still be the one dodgeball with Andrews against Lee and Barnes.
Morella does a good job getting around the screen attempt by Beckman there, but now you got a free one behind the hoops.
Delk, ball on the far side.
I like the cuts through the keeper zone that Boston's using with Taylor Crawford right now because the beaters are playing so far off of hoops.
Lawrence just runs through, around, and under the entire defense, gets a goal. Lawrence's third of the series, and just like that, we're not up at 1. Already a way better start for Boston than we saw in Game 2.
And really, it should be more from Lawrence so far. Lawrence has the ability to be a game breaker, has been doing a very good job of winning off of the dribble, so to speak, but just not getting into the lane and making shots effectively.
Speaking of getting in the lane, I think Yanko had that one, but it's not to be. John Jackson, though, able to get to the loose ball. Jackson, it's still a no dodgeball situation. Mendoza has it. Mendoza looking to drive. I think the ref staff might have to talk that one over. We just happened to have the perfect angle on it. I'm pretty sure Yanko's shot did go through there.
Yeah, if nothing else happened, then it for sure is a goal. Good job by Yanko on the weird angle shot, and good job by the goal ref to get eyes on it, make sure they get the call right.
Yanko just seems to have great zone control of where the hoop is in relation to him at any point. Really good at coming around those corners and scoring. And New York, just like that, up 2-1 here early.
Yeah, but again, if you're Boston, the pace so far is not killing you. You need to make sure this is a winnable game. We talked about 11 being the number. If the pace of play is right, because you're playing good offense and good.
The ball, which was going to be an easy no-budge opportunity. I think Morella had it for a second. Lawrence came up with it again, but gets shut down at the hoops. Basically, Lindsay Morella all over them.
Kids, there's something to learn from every tape that you watch, no matter what game. I firmly believe that. Something to learn from that tape. Catch with your hands, not with your body.
Mendoza there. Oh, it's a pass actually to Morella. I can't tell if Montero blocked that with her face or whatnot. Regardless, it is a stop. It is going the other way. Biddles has Jason Ing wrapped up, so it's a no dodgeball situation. Higmont's able to clear out Delk as Beckman gathers it. Skur is finally, I think, going to settle this play down.
Great transition defense from New York.
They're able to keep dodgeball control out of the situation as well. Montero just throws back to Biddles after eating a beat.
The screens have to be better from Boston.
Yeah, but there finally at least is a tap beat on the top point defender to move them things around.
Be intentional with your offense, right? If you're a young coach or a captain or something looking to learn, be intentional. Don't run players for no reason. If you're going to go set a screen, set one.
Ing, considering a long throw, makes a big dodge there. No, he's called beat. Beckman, though, shot is blocked. I think there's going to be a quick discussion here. Could be unlucky for Boston because I think that ball was going to deflect out of bounds without anybody stopping it, which would have kept the ball in Boston's hands.
Right. Yeah, we'll see how the refs educate it here. But yeah, you can see that, it might be a little bit of too late to start adjusting, but the motion is better. The players seem to be, again, less of 6 individual players running around with coverage on them and more of, all right, we're looking to open up things as a team, our beaters and chasers together, our chasers and chasers together. So
I think what they had to adjudicate was
Thank you.
was whether that ball had contacted Ing because Ing might have manipulated the ball afterwards. So I think they turned dodgeball control over to Boston. I think Beckman did pick up a knock on that play. Looks to be taking a sub. The real question is,
what's the quad ball?
Yeah, I think it might be loose on the ground. And again, I think Boston got really unlucky there because I think that was just going to deflect right out of play. Yanko looks like they have the first step, and assumingly the ball's not going to still be rolling off the stop. Oh, no, it is. It was put on the sideline.
If you're the second one to this ball, push the first person out of bounds. It's almost easier to be second to the ball in this case. And this is a part of the game I always loved, during the stoppage, you find a way to communicate that to your teammates. Like, hey, play defense off of this, not offense. Sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't, depending on how discreet you're trying to be. You can hear Max Havlin from the sideline, helping get everybody on the same page beater-wise.
Olazaba and Yanko are going to be running for this dodgeball. I don't think either's going to get much dodgeball help. Oh, no, I think Biddles made a beat, missed a beat, hard to tell. Oh, yeah, it made the beat. Olazaba, though, just gets dropped by Lindsay Morella.
Well done by Morella.
And I think Olazaba's down hard.
Fantastic tackle by Morella.
Yeah, and, I mean, we talked about maybe this would be, a less aggressive game with everything that's happened. This might be the most physical game of the three. It feels like the dodgeballs are flying everywhere, and everyone's just being forced to hit everybody.
Oh, we talked about it, right? Sometimes the intangibles taste the sweetest, something like that. You can't replace pride. There's a lot of stakes at play in every instance, but at the heart of every competition is the opportunity to be better than somebody else. And there are no two teams that want to be better than somebody else than these two teams in the East Division.
Yeah, Boston, the only team to ever go undefeated in the East. Austin, of course, the only one to ever go undefeated in the South. The North, we've had a couple scenarios, but also, the altered format kind of comes into play there as well. But it's definitely a rare feat to do. So Biddles is headed to the box for an illegal tackle. So from bad to worse there for Boston. The offensive opportunity gets stopped. The dodgeball control goes easily. Skura's screened out of the way, and it's an easy put away for Jackson. Jackson, 8 goals now on the series.
We talked about it in between games. It feels like a quiet superstar performance from John Jackson, but if I had to give him a nickname, it'd be the quiet superstar. Exactly perfect for his game.
Yep. It's now 3-1 in favor of New York. 5 minutes in. Again, not the terrible start that Boston got in the last game. In a hurry, puts it through, and we're starting to see things click a little bit more for Boston here late in the series.
Yeah, great coordination on the side hoop there.
And great coordination with the dodgeball players, right? Kieran Collier and Serena Montero do a great job there of getting all 3 dodgeballs on the ground, and it was at that exact moment that their quadball players were ready to go with the pass.
Yep. Yeah, timing is everything. We've talked about it's easy to win if your beaters are absolutely dominating the dodgeball game to the point where everything's open, right? And for a lot of teams, that's the only way they can win is when they have a team that's completely outmatched by their beaters, and they'll come and go with whatever their beaters are doing. But great teams, elite teams, are able to win when their beaters aren't winning because they're on time. You don't need to dominate every inch of the field. You just need to dominate the inches that matter. And that's an instance right there of when you're playing together, when your fundamentals are good, when you're on time, you can get easy ones. It's just who can get the most usually wins.
Yeah, so just a quick hoop replacement here on the New York side. Additionally, I think adding a little air to the ball as it gets a little cooler here late at night. So just a couple quick equipment changes, and we'll be back going here in Game 3. It's been a good one so far, 30-20. Pair of goals by Lawrence and Olazaba for Boston. And then Mendoza and then the 2 big ones, Jackson and Yanko, who have been carrying this team in a lot of ways all weekend long.
Yep. Yeah, some really good team goals from New York. Ho-hum, nothing really new there. Boston, again, with the missed opportunities, and that's something where a great team like New York is not going to let you get away with those for too long. Every possession's a new chance. Got to make sure that you take care of as many chances as you can. That's why, as a coach, you always want to harp on no loose balls, no second chances, no getting outworked, that type of thing.
Yeah, and obviously, again, like we talked about, sure, this Game 3, whether it's the wins that don't matter being the sweetest, et cetera, but, this New York team has an objective. They've never won an MLQ championship. There's a very, very good Austin team waiting at the end of their Yellow Brick Road, and they need to make sure they are inch perfect before they have to see that team at MLQ championships.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where your focus gets to. Every single time you're together as a team, you make sure that you know what exactly you're working for. Every time you play together is a chance to get better, including games that supposedly don't matter.
Yep. Luis Mendoza is still in the game here. Slips by Skura. Oh, just hits the backhander off the top hoop. That is a brace there for Mendoza.
My goodness. Luis Mendoza going dancing right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely electric slide through the defense right there. A little bar down. Yes, please.
Yeah, the 21-year-old out of the Rutgers program showing up big here for the Titans.
How about that?
Athena Mayer now has the ball for Boston, 4-2 in favor of the Titans. Freed now in the game along with Olivar. Skura sees a lane, flips one over the top. Olazaba is able to come up with it. Again, another one of those kind of shot passes. Uh-oh, trouble here. The pass goes wide of Skura.
Tough break there. I think Skura was expecting a player to be behind. There was a player behind. It was Collier, who obviously couldn't catch the quad ball. You'd like to see him reward Doyle right there. Doyle getting marked off the ball. Again, great preparation by New York to be on their P's and Q's and really make sure Doyle does not kill them in this series. Doyle was able to work free out on the wing. Just take the pass and make New York get in rotation. You know, reward somebody for getting open against man coverage.
Freed's not really going to have anywhere to go on this one. 2 dodgeballs back. One dodgeball back and a few quad ball players. Athena Mayer is trying to force the reset. Freed's having none of that. Tate K now into the game for the first time alongside Tessa Mullins with dodgeball control. Freed moves it over to Mendoza.
Boston back in the 2-2.
Freed patient up top, gets it down the corner, can't get to it this time though.
A little bit sloppy from New York in that instance. I'd like to see Boston, you know, what do you have to lose? Maybe you don't want to show the tape or whatever, but just because you gave up a goal on a marked possession after 3 offensive rebounds in the last game doesn't mean you can't go back to it, right? Don't get tied into the outcomes necessarily. Think about the context of what you're running when you decide whether or not to go back to something.
Skura with the ball up top, Frank Minson meeting. Over to Mayer. Mayer has space, fakes a shot, pulls it back out. Minson presses her. Ball game. A lot of space, but does just go back up to Skura. Collier trying to get near Mullins, his former player. Leo Freed picks it off and is looking to run now. Frank Minson's out in front of the play. Leo Freed flips it up to him. Can't get it cleanly. Carson Olazaba's closing in. Gets a partial wrap. Frank Minson by it, throws it away. It's going to give Collier the ball. Oh, Doyle goes high but can't come down with it.
Doyle almost climbed the ladder on that one.
And that was bounced off of Mayer or Freed. It's going to be given to Freed. Still going to be no dodgeball for a while. Collier is able to get a ball. Freed, though, running right through the defense. Freed puts it through. 5-2 New York.
Well done by New York to make the most of these opportunities, right? Not to be denied twice in a row in transition. If you're Boston, you got to settle down a little bit, right? So New York is doing a really good job adjusting to what Boston's trying to do. They're kind of, pinching vertically. And so you see Kay and Mullins now playing much more central, much more closer together. And credit to New York. They're defending at 5 ways to Sunday right now. Whatever defense they want, they are executing extremely well. Very
Doyle
impressive.
there, finally, though. For some reason there, the triangle and one focused in on Steven Tremple, and Zach Doyle is the player that's going to kill you. And there's a really nice find there. And
finisher around the hoops are great hands, and Doyle has incredible hands.
I
was going to say, it's interesting to see. It looks like the triangle and one the last couple possessions has just been focusing on whoever was the behind hoops player, and Boston's adjusting by not having that be Zach Doyle.
Yeah, a good opportunity there from New York, but can't get it to go. Green back into the play, gets it across to Bertram. Bertram goes through one. Shot is good. A little bit of momentum, starting to feel it on the Boston sidelines. The game is back within 150-40.
There's some juice in the building. And for
the first time, New York has to take a timeout here in this series.
Hey now. How about that? Hey, you talk about not being afraid, playing with pride. Morgan Bertram, I don't think has ever been afraid of anything in her life. Works on cars for a living and plays like one on the field, looking for contact and looking to make.
The things that have been working for Boston in the last few possessions are getting away from tendencies, right? It feels like New York was so ready for Boston to keep playing kind of lazy and in the way that they wanted to play. And New York has been set up so well for that. But then you think about the possession where Skura just came charging down the field, even though Beater was in possession, caught Mullins off guard, forced her to miss that beat. You think about Bertram, a lot of players on the Boston team don't necessarily take that lane and take that shot when there's a beater. The difference of Boston finally being able to find some scoring opportunities. At the same time, they've clamped down a little bit more defensively. We saw Ian Skura laying a big hit on the last possession in transition. Sure, they ended up scoring when all was said and done, but, definitely it feels like a little bit of a different Boston team, a Boston team that has adjusted from the things that have gone wrong in games 1 and game 2.
Absolutely. You said it perfectly, and I love the timeout from Frank Minson in this situation. We'll see, obviously I think he's done a really good job of blending the players of different backgrounds in this team into one system. I think he has a good hand timeout to try to reset and say, hey, listen, they've made adjustments. We're in the process of adjusting. They're already playing their beaters a little different. Their defense has been a little bit more conservative. It's just about let's get back to forcing them to react to us. Really, that's what you kind of want to say as a coach is, let's stop being reactionary and let's go back to imposing our will a little bit. And it starts with cleaning up some of these passes over people's heads. Not, you had a couple of bunnies at the hoops, right? Couldn't finish through contact. Go make sure that you execute on the things you can control is what I'd say if I was Frank.
Yeah. And, basically all the goals with the exception of the one freed, no dodgeball, came from the first line of New York. It's been really quiet on offense since those players subbed out. John Jackson is back on the field now, and we'll see if they can start to create from that. Harry Greenhouse out there at point. It's going to be a 2-2 look here from Boston against dodgeball control. Patience here. Kay makes a beat, and it's a beautiful setup for Minson to hit a streaking Annika Kim. Kim finishes 6-4 New York. A really nice play out of the timeout.
Yeah, and that's a pass that's been there all game, and this time they hit it. Good pass by Minson and good finish by Kim.
New York did have to give up dodgeball control for the good of that goal, so what can Boston do off of it? Needs to hold serve here, down to Fiona Weishart just whiffs on a beat completely on Tessa Mullins. There. Still has it. It's going to be an advantage, or I believe at least a delayed penalty. Mario Nasta has one called. All right, so they're going to adjudicate. Still working on that one. That penalty there.
Yeah. That's tough.
Yep.
It's one of the. I was never good at it. Easily one of my biggest ways to get cards in MLQ until I stopped trying it. It's so hard to not finish swinging at a ball that hits you in the chest first. There's some players who are great at it. Doyle, we've talked about him a lot. Great at swatting for the most part, as long as he's not trying to kick it behind him. I could never do it. I don't fault anybody for taking a.
They've had a quad ball player advantage. They've been so good at taking the space. We haven't seen that from Boston a ton, facing these quad ball power plays. I'd like to see, hey, this forces them out of playing their triangle in one, right? So what can you do now? What can you do with that extra freed up player?
Yeah, and we'll see if Boston, despite the New York timeout, is able to keep making New York be reactionary to them.
Greenhouse hits the lane, gets it over to Tremple. Tremple's shot goes low. Will Andrews is able to keep it in the offensive zone. Really nicely done there.
Penalty almost killed.
Yeah, it is just a blue. Oh, I've wanted to see from Boston, someone just drawing a little of the defense's attention before moving it off. I wouldn't even say the timing was that efficient.
Had a chance to make a play, but hey, you don't create an opening without trying. So well done. The timing was certainly better. Ball not off somebody's hands, and you're able to put it through for an easy one.
And Tremple, the young chaser seeker, only his second goal.
Be a little more patient this time. He make sure he puts it through.
Barnes is beat there, so Will Andrews might have a pressure. Moagaga looking to hit the lane, gets around Bertram, flips it over the top to Armor Trading, but as we were talking about,
they're compressed, active hands at the hoops, not give up anything easy and be quick in rotation, right?
Yeah, and hey, we've got a ball game here. I mean, this one is not going to get, I don't think, decided in these first 20 minutes by any means. Boston only down one here and trying to tie it up, I think, past the 12-minute mark.
Yeah, and we talked about the pace, right? I mean, Boston was not going to win any of these games in a shootout. They can win games against a lot of teams in a shootout. This is not one of them, and it's going better so far.
Oh, a good idea there from Greenhouse to switch it to the weak side. Couldn't, just a little not clean there from Bertram with the hands. Is going to go the other way. Not going to be a press opportunity, though. The dodgeball control is with New York. John Jackson looking to hit Annika Kim. Not even sure who gets the goal there. Jackson is pointing Kim's way.
Great
Looks like Kim might have gotten a little touch on it.
Great hands by Kim. Well done. Very well done. Perfect cut. Good timing. And I love the delayed fast break, right? When your identity is to run, don't just give up on it if you don't get full-on breakaway dunk type of fast break, right? Run up and still look to make a first cut before the defense is completely set. Boston's trying to get in a 2-2. And
Bertram with the ball. Back up to Greenhouse. Bento has on the near side. Tremple's the player behind. Currently not being marked, so we're seeing more of a traditional 2-2 here out of New York now.
Yep.
Just ever changing the defenses. Greenhouse goes high. Greenhouse, I think, shot low. Greg Bento trying to get to the ball. Bertram as well. Greg Bento does clean up the rebound. A rare second chance opportunity here for Boston. It's a long pass, but John Jackson's going to get a hand on it. Dodges the beat. throws it back to Hagag. Doesn't matter whether or not Hagag was across because it was an immediate possession. Hagag, though, does bobble that. Greg Bento makes the big hit. John Jackson now has it again. An extended fast break opportunity. And Annika Kim doing her best Zach Doyle impression. Swan one home. A quick hat trick there for the young player out of Rutgers.
Fantastic, fantastic hustle play from the entire New York team. Even the beaters got in the play to make some beats. And I love teams that reward the player that gets down the field first. Kim was ready, she's been ready, and she's been absolutely money around the hoops.
Yeah, 5 goals out of the 2 young Rutgers players, Mendoza and Kim, an 8-5 lead here for New York. And it's just like we were talking about. They have their answer for the next generation. Boston's still trying to find theirs. As I speak, Peter Lawrence is driving the lane, pass up to Harry Greenhouse. Greenhouse gets it back to now with Beckman. Sorry, that was Delk who had it originally. Pass goes wide. It is going to be Pierre Lawrence getting there first. Pierre Lawrence dodges a beat, goes to the top of the zone, and I think it's just going to be a settling down here. Montero protected him. Collier looking to make a play on Hickmott. Hickmott does get beat. Greenhouse over to Beckman, and Beckman, the door gets shut by Jackson. It's going to be a race to the ball.
Great hands by Jackson, and great hustle trying to go after the loose ball. Jackson's just an eraser around hoops. I said it in the last game. There's so many things that you think you have space for that you just don't, whether it's a shot or a pass. Like sometimes you're like, all right, Jackson's taking away the shot. I'm going to pass it to somebody else. And somehow he's got hands on that ball or hands on the player on the catch.
Yeah. And, you know, you always know the sign of a good coaching staff when things really swing your way after you call timeout. It was 60-50 at the time of timeout. So far it's been all New York since. A 20-0 run, and the defense really clamping down a big way.
Yep, yeah. A 20-0 run with plenty of fast break opportunities. A team that looks more like New York, even though they're playing this kind of adjusted style, not overextending a ton, not looking to press the whole time because Boston adjusted their beaters. Just well done of playing one move ahead so far by New York.
Fine, and it's something you talked about. Anytime things aren't working out for New York offensively, they can put John Jackson in line, know he'll meld with the rest of the line, and they'll start getting scoring opportunities again. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
He played for a while. They got off to a good start. They pulled him. Things that slowed down, they put him right back with, you know, a couple young players. A player like Annika Kim. Doesn't really matter. It's still going to be effective.
Something that Boston always used to be able to do, and I think can do again. I really think this is an instance of preparation, and which isn't to disparage another coach. I would never want to do that. But it's an instance of New York is crisper. They are better prepared. They've been practicing harder, and you see it. And not just, you know, during the summer, but all year. That's why they're USQ champs as well.
Greenhouse in the lane. I think there's going to be a conversation about whether Hickmott's beat hit the ground or not, because obviously the ball did go through the hoop.
Yeah, New York thinks for sure that the beat hit. Looked like it from here.
Yep. Forge quad ball players are starting to take those spaces that are being given by New York and kind of daring a beat to come or daring a player to step out on them.
Yep. Yeah, just because you don't score doesn't mean that the action that you're running is ineffective. Sometimes better defense just wins.
Yanko ball on the near side alongside Jackson. Paguada in as well. Yanko goes right in the lane, kicks it over to Molly Potter. Molly Potter looking for the shot. Potter just knocks one off of Sarah Delk, and it's going to be a stop there for for Boston. Still down 3, though. Still have not scored since the timeout.
17:30.
Just 2.5 minutes left now here until the flag runner pitch is out with a attackable middle hoop. Not a bad look.
Yeah, the timing was off. That was a 1.5 from Collier off of the fresh control right there. I'd love to see a ball screen right as Collier's throwing their ball back. Lawrence sees it a little bit late and maybe is shooting on a hoop that was too well protected, and that's why the ball goes high. But like you said, I mean, I've never seen a shot I didn't like.
Collier is able to keep control, but it's Taylor Crawford who can't keep a hand on Yanko. Yanko goes into the hoops. And, you know, sometimes as a beater, you got to make those plays as Collier's broom goes flying in a catch attempt. But, yeah, sometimes you have to count on your defense to be able to shut the door for, 1 or 2 seconds. Not the case there.
Yep. And a great play by Yanko. I mean, it makes the shot look easy, but you're running off balance and kind of jumping with an incredibly strong person pushing you. A good shot and finish there.
Away. slows it down. Oh, Beckman tried to sneak in. Oh, and it's Biddles. Leo Freed tried to make a cheeky throw back. Chris LeCompte was not having it. Nice stop there by Biddles. Tara Crawford, though, did cross the midline with not a ton of space to work. Finally does find a nice pass to Beckman, who was being guarded by Paguada.
I love that. But knows that her defense isn't set yet. Worst case scenario, she gets beat and sent back to where she's. I mean, I'll tell you what, Peter Lawrence could have 8 goals this series so far. A player that's been playing well but hasn't been able to put it all together, that one's going to go through and count.
Yeah, a much-needed stop to the 30-0 run since the timeout for New York. Gets it back within 30. I think this might be the last possession, or maybe Boston will get one more before the 20. Definitely the most competitive game of the series to date. Definitely a game that Boston is actually hanging in.
Yep, and it starts on the offensive end, like we talked about, not just in the goals, but in how it's setting up their ability to play deep. When you're able to do that, now all of a sudden your ability in the flag runner game can help you pull games out.
Paguada over to Potter. Peter Lawrence, though, is charging at her, forces the ball loose. Potter looking to shoot. Nobody picked up Molly Potter, and she delivers one to put New York back up 40. She had no dodgeball help. She had minimal quad ball option help, and nobody on the Boston defense stepped to her.
Molly Potter's way, way, way too good for that, and she's a better person than me, because if I saw that happen where I dropped the ball and nobody even tried to get the ball, nobody picked me up, and I dropped a shot in, I would have let every single player on the other team know that. So great job by Molly there. Way to stick with the play.
Yeah, I mean, Molly Potter, a player who's maybe doesn't get the hype. I mean, obviously playing alongside a player like Lindsay Morella, but I mean, Potter, we saw it in the Washington series with Morella not there, how important she was to that series, her production, her defensive play as well. And obviously that's a big swing there. You know, being in range doesn't matter as much as it used to, but you know, going up 40 instead of 30 at the 20-minute mark still just feels different mentally when you're a quad ball player.
Well, absolutely. I mean, and it puts you. You know, every goal matters, right? A goal save. You're right in that you don't lose on a catch or whatever, but it helps you. Now they need one more goal if they're going to beat you. So,
yeah.
And again, momentum absolutely exists. So you look at the last time that this team talked, it was out of a necessary timeout. Now it's easy for Frank Minson. Now you say, hey, we're pushing all the right buttons. We have all the right answers. We got a catch on the last game. We're here to absolutely, you know, we let this team think they had a chance, and now we're going to go out and bet.
Firing when they need to. Yes, they played a lot.
Yep, and they play so well in their system. They play so connected. They don't need to. They're a lot like Austin in that way, where, you know, how do these programs just keep finding players, finding pieces to fit in? It's like, hey, well, if you get the system set up the right way, everybody knows their reads, everybody knows what they need to be doing, and they communicate well. It matters, but it doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm interested to see if Boston chooses to change up anything about their beating strategy and flag runner on pitch here, given the game's a little bit closer. Maybe give Greg Bento, who's getting the start, a little bit more of an opportunity. Or if they're going to kind of keep relying on their beaters to kind of stay in the quad ball game.
Feels like you gotta play defense with the beaters, and you gotta play offense with the beaters on flag runner.
Tara Crawford, though, right out of the 20 minutes, saw a no dodgeball opportunity he liked, blew right by Eric Paguada and puts it away. So it is back to basically being the exact scenario it would have been if Molly Potter hadn't hit that shot. It's a 30-point game at the beginning of flag runner on pitch.
It buys you an extra possession, though, right? Now they're one instance closer of being able to score one of those 6 that they need.
Yep. Andrews takes a very hard beat from Kay there. As going the other way, it's a quick goal from New York. Hagag's getting some time. I think Andrews is going to have to take a sub.
Love that from Paguada, getting into the lane and almost a flag runner on pitch specialist here. I love when teams are able to use those effectively, and great finish there.
It's Crawford there slipping a couple tackles, making a big hit. Athena Mayer comes down with it. Athena Mayer.
Well done, good pass there at the last instance. Great finish by and great positioning by Athena Mayer. Hagag getting a lot of time on the flag runner so far.
Paguada subs out. Hagag looking to put possibly this series away, put the sweep away. Collier, though, does get dodgeball control and is going to use it to make the beaters. Biddles clears out, and it's going to be Nikolai who gets it. It's going to be Skur going the other way. Skur has nobody in front. This period's going all Boston's way. If they could just get a catch here, we might have a real game. It is 110-80.
I'd say we've had a real game all game. But if you're Boston, it's one of those right now where you need to see it to believe it. You know, if you're New York, you have the history, you have the track record. You've been believing it. You think it's never in doubt.
Leo Free just grabs the one-handed ball, puts it through. It's now 120 to 90.
Makes it look easy. Picking it out of the air. Leo Free plays with gloves. I bet he doesn't need them.
No.
Those are
I'm
hands.
sorry. As his coach, I've seen him in the rain when he has to take the gloves off. He can't do any of that stuff anymore.
All right, how about that? Check the gloves then.
All right. And sorry, we're going to correct the score on our end. It is 120 to 100 right now.
All right. Looks like Biddles and Weishart with control around the flag runner.
So Emily Hickmott is actually in the box with a card here, which means Stephen Tremble's going to have all the time in the world. I wonder if Boston might want to slow it down in corner. Skura looking to work here. Not getting a ton of help. Does get over to Mayer. Did Tate K make the beat in time? No, he didn't. That is going to release the seeker, though. So that is a risky endeavor there from Boston. It is now 120 to 110. We've got a ball game here in game 3. Tremple and Emily Hickmott both running at it. Minson trying to go around Olazaba. Does run right into Skura. Now is getting into a pile. Skura is not willing to let it go. I think Skura might get some back contact here. Sorry, a high contact instead.
Yep. It's tough with a player that much shorter than you. Minson doing a good job staying low, driving the legs. Not doing a good job of passing before contact, but hey, bailed out with a foul.
I think Skura's team, though, is going to appreciate the fact that, you know, he has been kind of leading by example with the physicality in the last game in a way he doesn't necessarily always do. Extended period of time, but nobody wants to lay the hit on her. Now Molly Potter comes back into the play. Morello now looking to get in the lane. Morello around Olazaba. Oh, Athena Mayer, the desperation breakup of that pass. Great
roll from Potter and Morello and the off-ball.
For Boston in the dodgeball game around the flag runner, which is going to give Beckman some time. Beckman famously delivered Boston its most recent championship with a grab. Could deliver them a win here in this series if he can come up with another one.
Yeah, Ing got real close on that one. You know, Beckman was beating himself up in between games about not having the pull in the last.
In the box here, but I mean, really, I think what matters the most is going to be this flag runner game. Beckman's getting more and more time. I think Tessa Mullins might have missed that beat.
Playing with the jabs and not getting into the post against these seekers.
Beckman can't come up with it there. I think he's going to be flag runner down, though. Meanwhile, it's just a slow walk up for John Jackson here in the quad ball game. Ian Skur is going to drop high. It's going to be a screen there by Morello. John Jackson's going to get ahead of steam, and John Jackson doesn't get stopped in those situations. Score is now 130, 110. 3 more needed for New York or a catch. Both would be decisive. Boston, a catch would put them in the lead still.
Great screen by Morello there. Horrible on-ball screen and roll defense from Boston.
And a great screen by defense there from New York, and Skura just dunks it right home.
Yeah. New York coming out in the trees. Hard to have a second person on the screen there. I like to see Mayer making up for it on the offensive end. Great job.
Yeah, I do not like trees looks when you have no dodgeballs in the play, personally.
Yep, it's tough.
Mike Lee trying to drive around. Still 4 more needed for Boston.
And if you're Boston, you start thinking about not giving New York the ball back in this instance. You have an opportunity to pull a flag. It feels like that's your only way to victory. You got to be conscious about if you trade goals with them, you lose this game.
Yeah, but one more does make it so that a catch also wins for you. Skura is just moving around in the lane. Does flip it over to Mayer. Mayer, the two-handed shot right past Jackson.
How about that?
So now we are in traditional quad ball. A catch either way will be decisive, but also we still have this quad ball game going, and it only needs 2 more goals from New York or 3 more goals from Boston.
Hey, it's winning time right here. Under the lights in New York City, you can't get better than this. Let's see who wants it more.
Landumann's out of the play, which means I believe it's Paguada currently who's going to get some opportunity on the flag runner. Boston is going to put its dodgeball back in the quad ball game, We talked about how decisions are going to get harder now that New York only needs 2 more. John Jackson, though, still going to get a no dodgeball situation. Ozawa rolls off of him. It's now 1 goal to win for New York. And at the same time, Baguada is getting more time with the flag runner. Can Boston slow down an offense long enough for their beaters to give their seeker a chance to win the game?
Yeah, you got to get fresh legs in at seeker. You got to be much more anxious than Will Andrews is being right now around the snitch.
So Skura goes end to end and puts in the goal, and it's a really, really risky endeavor to give the quad ball back to the team who needs 1 goal to win.
Heads up play by New York. Did not care about playing defense.
It did seem like they were just letting Skura score there, I gotta say.
A heady play right there from New York.
Collier is in the defense, but is way out of position. Lee has the ball on the near side. Oh, it's a beat, but the ball does go off to Moreau. Moreau in the lane. Moreau, oh, the shot goes wide. Boston is still alive. Moreau makes that shot every single time.
Have you ever seen 300 people gasp at once? Because I think I just did. Every single player on the field did not move until that ball hit the ground because everyone thought it was in.
2 more goals needed for Boston or a catch. 1 more goal needed for New York or a catch. Did Ian Skura just block that dodgeball? I don't think he never even saw it. Mayer has it. Mayer loses it. I think Greenhouse is going to be first there. It's a kick there. It is going to go to New York. Yeah.
What a touch by Morello with the ball on the ground.
I think the ref staff might have to have a quick conversation about everything that just happened there.
Yeah, hard to tell on the loose ball. Looked like 2 players kind of wrapped up with each other. I'm sure they'll decide what's what, but regardless, good heads-up play and a good touch with a foot there by Morella.
Also, a quick shout-out to our snitch, Mikkel, who has basically gotten no beater help, I feel like, for most of this series and has been holding up very well against a great group of seekers from both these teams.
Both teams getting a lot of seekers in, and we got a pull.
So it does seem as though Mohagog has made. Apologize for not noticing.
We couldn't see it out of the seeker game. Good adjustments too, right? Didn't get figured out by the seekers. Instead, he adjusted to them.
140. New York completes the first ever regular season sweep of the Boston Forge. New York earns their first ever undefeated season. And as we mentioned after game 2, New York are the champions of the East Division. They will take the #1 seed. They will get a direct path to the quarterfinals and probably a favorable matchup when they get there. Obviously, this New York team has the highest of high expectations. They took Austin to game 3 in the semifinals last year. They were in the finals 2 years ago. The championship has always invaded them, but I gotta say, the future looks bright for this team.
I mean, even going back to 2019, this is a team that has long been trying to get over the hump, and you see some of that in the USQ championship that the Warriors were able to earn in the spring. The tide is turning. These are no longer, close but no cigar team, and they took it to their longtime rival in Boston in doing so. They've been the best team in the division this season, and they were definitely the best team tonight. Awesome.
Well, we want to thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed what was, I think, an absolutely fantastic series of the week with New York taking the sweep. For myself, for Teddy Costa, for Jack McGovern, who's been doing our interviews all night, and for our producer, Nick Jabal, in this division and across the league to come. And, of course, North Division championships and MLQ championships at the end of August in Des Moines, Iowa. Thank you all so much for watching. We hope you have a good night. New York Titans, 3-0 sweep and East Division 2023 champions.
Quadball is a sport that integrates aspects from rugby, basketball, and dodgeball to create a fast-paced